Hello and welcome to Trial TV Live. I am the Squeegee of Justice. Thank you so much for joining us today as we are going to recap the verdict and aftermath of Georgia versus Colin Gray. So I'll make sure my audio is okay. So I am going to bring my partner in crime on the stage, Claire. Let's welcome Claire to the stage. Hello, hello. How are you?
Partner in crime. I like that. Yeah.
Yes. How's it going today?
Oh, it's going. I'm still reeling a little bit about how fast they made up their mind
Yeah.
in this one.
Was it an hour and 47? I had about an hour and 47 minutes, so under
Yeah,
2 hours.
yeah, under 2 hours. Like I can't even imagine getting through that verdict slip with all the charges in that time. It's like they went through it once and answered it, and they were all on the same page. Like
Yeah.
it was like wow.
It was a woman, so the four women, the night before, the night before, after closing arguments and the jury instructions, there was kind of some confusion with evidence going back to the jury,
Hmm.
and I think it was around 4:30ish that they started to deliberate. Yeah, 4:20 I have, um, and then it took them a good half hour, and I think at around 5 o'clock or so, uh, she came back out and she's like, "Yeah, we're ready to go." But then she went back, but then she comes back out a few minutes later and she's like, "No, we just want to go home at this point." So I wonder, my question to you, do you think if they had started to deliberate at 4:30, knowing what we know now, but do you think they would have come back with a verdict or do you think they would have sat on it and come back the next day?
I think they could have. It was so fast in the morning. I think they really could have. Well, that all depends on how long they were allowed to deliberate. Some
Mhm.
courts will let you go late, like through dinner, and go till like 7, 8 if you want.
Yeah.
And some are like, no, we're out of here at 5. We don't want to keep the court staff,
Mhm.
beyond whatever. Because
Right.
it was 4:30, that would be important. Like, could they do it in 30 minutes? I don't think so. Like
Mhm.
30 minutes is really pushing it.
Yeah.
But if they were allowed to stay, I think within an hour and a half, I think they would have been out of there by 7:30 for sure.
Yeah.
Like yeah.
29 charges. So they went through 29 charges. So then they did come back the next day. They came in, I guess, around 9.
Mhm.
Because I have them 9 and then 10:47. So an hour
Mhm.
and 47 minutes. So 29 charges they went through. I have a feeling they probably did a straw poll. Actually, they weren't allowed to start to deliberate because they hadn't had all the evidence yet.
Right.
So they had to wait. Can you imagine? You've gone through this trial, you're like chomping at the bit, you're ready to go, and you're just sitting there and you're waiting, 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 and then you're told, nope, go home. And or actually, she made the decision. She's like, we want to go home and come back tomorrow. So, um,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess I guess they did the straw poll maybe that following day, which was the third, right? It was
Mhm.
it was the third, and I would assume if everybody's like, yeah, he's guilty, let's just get to it. I mean, what do you think? Do you think they kicked
I
some
think
evidence around?
I was surprised because we've talked about this before, and I think everybody was aware that I was a little hesitant on the first charges, the actual murder, getting over that actual
Mhm.
hump there,
Yeah.
because I always think that that's gonna, that's a pretty very serious charge, and it's the way they had to charge him. It was very
Mhm.
confusing, but I do think the prosecution and the judge did a good job of laying that out about the
Mhm.
cruelty to Colin, that
Mhm.
Colin did to Colt. That it's
Mhm.
actually his child we're talking about first,
Mhm.
and it's what he did with his child that caused what happened to the other children.
Mhm.
In Once they could get that into a straight line, and they were able to agree that they all agreed that murder was appropriate here, I think the rest was just ticking the boxes, because like what
Yeah.
else is there to think about? It's such a horrific event. If you can get to murder for those two, I mean, manslaughter and cruelty is nothing.
Yeah.
Like, of course you're going to be guilty of all the others.
Yeah. Reckless conduct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cruelty to all the other children. Yeah.
Right.
Um, yeah. I'm interested. Like so far, like Colt put a plea in of not guilty, but and then he's being evaluated. So he didn't straight away say not guilty, reason of insanity, but he said not
Right.
guilty.
Well,
Do you think that they're going? I mean, I know what I think, but do you think the state is willing to offer him a plea, or do you think they want to take him to trial?
Well, I do believe they were looking at charging him as an adult, right? Like
Yes,
I do believe so.
that is
That's like
correct.
really serious.
Yep.
In obviously, Colt is listening to his attorneys because it doesn't make any sense to do any other plea at this point with him going under evaluations, except for not guilty.
Yeah.
There's many, many options on the table right now, and that just sends a signal to prosecution of like this could be a battle, which makes prosecution go into a different gear too. Well, let's just look at some options we can give him to settle this out of
Hmm.
court. Like let's just see if we can give him a plea deal.
Yeah.
It's just like signaling between the sides right now. And Colt is obviously listening to his attorneys by putting that plea in. I
Hmm.
don't really think Colt personally would fight it, actually,
Hmm.
in his mental state. I think, he knows what he did, but based on his age, of course, his attorneys are going to try whatever they can to get him the best deal
Yeah.
that he can. And here's the thing: how sympathetic is the jury going to be towards him too, knowing the father's already been convicted now
Hmm.
of being able to prevent this? Are they going to look at Colt as just an extension victim of this event?
Hmm. Right.
Even though he's the one that pulled the trigger, even though he's the one, the catalyst for the whole thing,
Hmm.
is that going to be that sympathetic for his attorneys to use, that he was just failed by the system and his parents and this poor kid? Like, what option did he have? Like,
Hmm.
one of those defenses of you created the monster you're dealing with.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm almost, I can go out on a limb and say that I don't think the family, friends, community want to see this, hear this testimony again in another trial.
Mm-mm. No, they
Um,
don't. Mm-mm.
but so that being said, if it does go to trial, I don't think, would the jury know that the father was found guilty, or is that too prejudicial?
It depends on how the defense wants to use it. Depends on
Hmm.
the defense would have to fight. Prosecution's going to want to use it,
Hmm.
obviously.
Hmm.
But it depends on if the defense wants to use it as a plus on their side, how hard they fight to keep it out. I think
Hmm.
they have a good chance to keeping it out. It is very prejudicial. It would
Hmm.
have to be somewhat probative, and it depends on the argument that they put forward, the prosecution, on using it.
Right. Right.
Um,
Because I can see that they would go with, because he'd either spend life in prison or life in well, spend time in
mhm,
a institution or life in prison.
mhm,
I would assume that's what he's facing, because it doesn't. I don't think the DP. Well, they haven't talked about the DP yet, even though Georgia does have that. I haven't seen that. Haven't seen that floated around yet. But I would say the defense would fight for putting him in an institution for many, 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 many years, getting
mhm,
him some serious help, and saying, "Hey, look, he was just he wasn't raised right. He clearly has issues. His mom's giving him Zoloft that is coming from her, not from a doctor
mhm,
or healthcare
mhm.
professional. Dad is just doesn't enroll him in school. I mean, this kid fell through the cracks left and right.
Right.
Red flags all over. So they would use all that we saw that was used
Mhm,
against Colt. They would use that. I'm sorry, used against Colin. They would now use that for
right.
Colt.
Mhm.
So I can see them switching that up.
Because even though he's being charged as an adult, he was a child at the time, and he was obviously not in the best frame of mind. And if they're going to use all of that against, like you said, in Colin's trial, that all
Yeah.
of this was wrong and all of these red flags and nobody was doing anything, then wouldn't the appropriate outcome, when you look at the whole picture, be that the kid gets finally the help that he needs?
Hmm.
Because that's been the whole catalyst of this whole thing.
Yeah.
It would be the best outcome. Yes, justice, but justice is for everyone, not just the victims. I mean, and it's such a horrific story, it's such a horrific event, that happened, that we all think, oh, everybody who went through it. Well, Colt also is a victim of this whole thing, when you think about it, and justice has to be for him too. So
Hmm.
is it right that he just goes to adult prison for the rest of his life as a murderer, or does he go to, still for the rest of his life, probably, even if he takes a plea,
Hmm.
just to a place where he can get the mental health and get some semblance of some kind of resolution to the situation? I mean, to me, that would be more justice than,
Yeah.
just 100% punishment. It should be 100% punishment and rehabilitation. Let's get rid of the trigger that caused this whole thing. Let's balance out his mental health. But
Right.
justice sometimes is cruel, and we don't always get that part of it.
Right.
I mean,
Well,
people don't want to necessarily feel sorry for the killer. You know what I mean? Like, it's
right.
yeah.
Yeah, he certainly had a lot of opportunity. Well, it's evident to me that he planned this, right? There was a lot of moments where he
Hmm.
planned it, meaning Colt planned it. Like some other trials we've covered that, like Chloe Driver, I think she shouldn't be in prison.
Hmm.
I think she should be in an institution. Carlos Dominguez definitely should be in an institution. And that jury got hung. They actually found him not guilty, and then on two
Uh-huh.
counts, and then hung on the other one. So he's going to be retried coming up soon. Um, so with Colt, though, like with those two, I don't see premeditation. With Colt, I do see evidence
Yeah.
of him premeditating it. So then I'm like, well,
Yeah,
I
but
mean, was he really?
then you got the psychological part of it. What is premeditation in an already sick mind? We're not talking about a rational person here. We're
No,
talking about a
no, I
child.
agree. Well, I'm thinking more like if you're having a psychotic break, like Carlos was having
Yeah.
psychotic breaks left and right,
But this
and
is a
they could
child
prove that.
too. His ability to ration and reason isn't 100% already.
Yeah,
Now we put some really mental strain on him, and really the acting like any of us is out the window.
yeah,
So the planning and everything. You use the word planning, and I use the word, in my mind, retaliation
mm,
against what is happening to him. Um, I can actually picture him just going through the steps just to get his own power back in a situation where he is completely out of control. His whole world is out
mhm,
of control. And
mhm,
so to him, this is more retaliation against his parents, retaliation against the system, retaliation against everything that's wrong in his life. You know, the planning, and it's some kind of balance. In I can actually see him using it as a way to balance the chaos in his life.
yeah,
Just the planning steps that he made. Um,
yeah,
as crazy as that sounds, and I realize that sounds absolutely insane, but
mm,
it's just periodically over the last week, like that's where my brain goes with
mhm.
Colt.
Well,
Yeah,
there's a few things I want to say to that, but horse welfare. That's a good reminder. If you guys want questions, just do us a favor and
yeah,
do QQQ so we can identify
a
those
lot.
quickly, and then we can pop that up. But
Yeah,
yeah, what role did
a
Marcy's
lot.
psycho play in this? I
Don't you think?
agree. Yeah.
I mean, giving any child a medication, especially a serious, chemically, alters the chemicals in your brain. Any,
Mhm.
a serious medication like that, especially in a child, which it's always iffy putting them on this anyway. They have different side effects than adults do.
Mhm.
They have to be closely monitored. Sometimes even just taking the medicine that's supposed to help you, like Zoloft's supposed to help you with the anxiety and making you more stable, can actually make you worse in the beginning,
Mhm. Mhm.
and give you intrusive thoughts. I mean, just the I can't believe she's not charged. I mean, I can believe it because she got the deal to testify, but it's just, to me, that's an injustice right there. Her
Yeah.
act, not, I mean, that was abuse of a child that is like, off the charts,
Mhm.
cruelty to a child, like off the
Right.
charts. Yeah.
So we know that she gave the first round or the first whatever dosage on the 16th of August, and then a period of time goes by. This happened on the 4th, September 4th, and I think it's like August 30th or 31st where Colt's like demanding in a text message for Colin to give him the Zoloft. So he never once say, you don't hear anything about that before. So, and Colin uh, says he denies giving Colt the Zoloft after Marcy left. So that means he was taking Zoloft from the 16th until I think it was on 30th, 29th, 30th, something like that. So that's a good
Hmm.
2 weeks that he was taking it, even though Colin denies that he gave Colt any of the Zoloft. But if that was the case, then Colt would have been screaming at him before, "Give me my Zoloft, give me my Zoloft." So the first time we
Exactly.
hear that is like 2 weeks later. So yeah, I would love to know from a medical professional, or what is the effects of unprescribed Zoloft on a 14-year-old, 15-year-old mind who is
Hmm.
clearly going through all this, what are the
and then
ramifications?
just
You know?
stopping, yeah, and then just like not getting it if you didn't expect
Yeah.
to see that in a trial. If we get one, that would be a major point for the defense, that
Hmm.
for especially if they're trying to prove psychotic break,
Hmm.
against premeditation.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it, I mean, because they say premeditation and everything like that, but like a lot of what they would use for the evidence of premeditation, they could also use that he's a teenager and they just talk crazy and say crazy things,
Yeah.
it's like because of his fascination with the other school shooter and stuff like that. It could be, they could easily present it to a jury as posturing,
Hmm.
you know
Yeah.
especially with a father encouraging him for gun use, encouraging him with hunting skills and things like that, and like coming into his manhood. I could see them twisting it, like trying
Hmm.
to twist it for the jury that way. So
Sure. Yeah. All right. Do you want to? I have 4
yeah,
videos. I've got the verdict itself, and then I've got 4 after that. I've got the press conference, a survivor speaks, Sheriff Judd Smith, and then a school board meeting. I haven't watched any of these.
yeah, because like that's what I had been finding out is what happened. I tried to stay away from too much of it until like we were going to do a wrap up, but the laws that have changed and they've put forward in the last year or so,
Hmm.
and the burdens that they've done, like that school meeting is going to be important. But let's start with the verdict, because like I want to see what you have to say about Colin's reaction, because man, I was a bit shocked.
Yeah. 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 All right. Let's check it out.
Is the jury has a verdict. Um, I realize that there are divergent interests in the courtroom. All right, sorry, so Mr. Smith's just here, so everybody else is present. All right, so my understanding is the jury has a verdict. I know that there are divergent interests in the courtroom. If you want to remain in the courtroom, you have to control any emotional outbursts that you may have. So counsel, what I will do is confirm that they have a verdict, and then I will have the court person deliver it. It will be brought over to me. I will ask counsel to approach, to inspect the verdict. I will ask you if there are any objections to the form or legality of the verdict. So you might have questions.
Yeah.
All right. Brooks, you can bring the jury in.
I'm gonna see if I can fast forward it just a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Madam Foreperson, my understanding is the jury has reached a verdict. Is that true?
Yes,
So was the verdict unanimous?
yes,
And have you signed, dated it, and filled in your verdict where applicable?
yes.
All right, would you hand it to the bailiff? Thank you, sir. And then counsel, if y'all want to approach to inspect the verdict. Any objections to the form or legality of the verdict?
Not from state, Your Honor.
There you are. Ms. Jones, if you will publish the verdict.
In the Superior Court of Barron County, State of Georgia versus Colin Gray, case number 24-CR-593-P, jury verdict. Count 1, murder in the second degree. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 2, cruelty to children in the second degree. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 3, murder in the second degree. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 4, cruelty to children in the second degree. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 5, involuntary manslaughter, unfaithful act. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 6, reckless conduct. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 7, involuntary manslaughter, unlawful act, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 8, reckless conduct, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 10, cruelty to children in the second degree, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 11, cruelty to children in the second degree, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 12, cruelty to children in the second degree, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 13, cruelty to children in the second degree, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 14, cruelty to children in the second degree, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 15, cruelty to children in the second degree, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 16, cruelty to children in the second degree, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 17, cruelty to children in the second degree, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 18, cruelty to children in the second degree, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 19, cruelty to children in the second degree, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 20, cruelty to children in the second degree, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 22, cruelty to children in the second degree, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 23, cruelty to children in the second degree, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 24, cruelty to children in the second degree, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 25, cruelty to children in the second degree, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 26, cruelty to children in the second degree, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 27, reckless conduct, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 28, reckless conduct, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Count 29, reckless conduct, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. This third day of March 2026, signed for person.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Counsel, do we need the,
So, reaction. It seemed like, well, first of all, I'm like, what is he looking at? Is he looking at the verdict form? Did they get a copy of it?
I think they get a copy of it, like, because the lawyers are looking down too.
Yeah.
It sometimes. So I guess he's going over like what they're reading out loud, and he's watching with the attorneys as they go down the list. But stunning, like the lack of emotion, his ability to separate himself from the situation is mind-boggling to me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I can kind of understand this is the man who said that he had an abusive childhood also.
Mhm.
So the ability to turn off, so to speak, is
Yep.
a unfortunate calming ability that they develop as you're growing up. And he does seem to be kind of like not aware of his surroundings that often anyway. We're all wondering how he missed everything with Colt. It is because he's like not really in it when he's in it. Like, I don't think this man is 100% in it at any time.
Right.
Like common sense things that we all see that we would notice, like he's claiming never to have picked up on or anything. And in a way, I think some of that is true. I don't think this is an inherently evil person.
Mhm.
I think, he's just disassociated in some way. I think he's just really messed up,
Mhm.
the whole situation.
Yeah.
But watching him sit there so cold, wow. I mean,
Right.
if I was doing sentencing and I was the judge, I might be getting an idea right now that I was dealing with a psychopath and he should never see the light of day.
Right. I'm just going to keep playing it while we're talking. I put the sound down. So now they're just going to pull the jury, but we can keep talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with the disassociation, the stiff upper lip. He's a man. He got beat on as a kid, don't show. I'm sure his dad probably hit him when he started to cry, one of those things. Why are you crying? Stop
Right.
crying, while in the meantime, while I'm getting smacked, one of those things. And I think I wonder if he probably prepared himself for it,
Mhm.
and I think, yeah, I think he prepared himself. Whether or not he thought he was going to get off, that's another question. But I think
Yeah.
he prepared himself for it, and I'm sure his lawyers told him as well.
He's been in the system since it happened, since he was arrested, right? So,
Yeah, yeah,
like, his life doesn't change that much.
mm-mm, nope, yeah,
Uh, you know,
yeah. It's like, all right, you guys have spoken. I said my piece. You're saying your piece, and it is what it is. Like I don't get. Like he's not a Charlie Adelson or Donna Adelson where their
no.
outbursts and Charlie puts his head down. Like those guys were more like, they couldn't believe that the injustice done upon them. Where I think it seems like Colin's like, all right,
It,
I gave it my shot. I gave it my best shot, and it is what it
I,
is.
I don't even know if it's hit him yet. He
Yeah,
seems to like. I don't even know if he's actually dealing with the actual situation that's going on right now. We
yeah,
noticed that a lot during the trial. Like, does
mhm,
he really actually understand what is happening here? Like, how
right.
could he actually say this? And you know, I,
Well, the other
I
thing
don't.
is he knows he's going to get an appeal, right? This is going to get
Yeah, it's
appealed.
murder. So, oh yeah,
Yeah,
obviously.
and it could possibly go to the Supreme Court. It could make its way all the way up, at least to the Georgia Supreme Court, if not to the federal Supreme Court. So, um,
Even if it does, I don't really see them overturning the verdict. I
mhm.
think they may the severity of the charges maybe, but I don't see them
Yeah,
taking away a guilty verdict at all here.
right.
I don't see anything the prosecution did that would get them even a new trial. Actually,
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the reckless and the cruelty for sure, and even the manslaughter, but maybe that second degree, I could see them. I could see
yeah.
them possibly. I could see that because again,
And
there's
and
no lockup laws, and
and that would be the states. Like I said, the state is a contributor here, whether we want to believe it or not. The lack of this law, they are
hmm
definitely contributing here in how they had to charge Colin
hmm
in the first place, and how the prosecution had to go through such hoops. In For the prosecution, at least there was enough here. I mean, this is an extraordinary situation of, nobody paying attention to what was going on. This kid, this was like blaring, you
hmm
know. How many of these other, incidences where children, minors are getting access to weapons, in volatile situations where they don't have as much glaring signs and the school's not involved and neither is the state's child advocacy and all of this other, where they don't have as many people involved.
hmm
Um, no one can get charged.
hmm
Like, that was one of the few things that did change, is that they're making it a misdemeanor of all things. Like, we won't see another cruelty to child charge unless there's actually blaring evidence of nobody doing anything, you
hmm
know. But now they're just going to make it simpler for a much lesser charge to discourage parents from giving access.
hmm
But they still haven't made a lockup, which I don't know why. I mean, if you say that reasonable parents are in control of giving guns to minors for hunting and for other purposes, why not lock it all up? I mean, because yeah, you got a 14-year-old that you can trust with a shotgun, but don't you have younger children coming into the house too?
hmm
Like, in households with minors, I don't understand why there's not, a safe storage law. They leave it for common sense. It's almost like they say, well, no reasonable person would leave it unlocked, so we don't have to make a law to lock it. And I'm like, no.
hmm
No, actually, you really should. You really should,
hmm
you know?
Yeah, we talked about that. I think the last recap where Savannah had put into effect. If it's in your car, if you have a firearm in your car,
Yep.
make sure it's secure. Put it in the glove compartment. Put it
Mhm.
behind the seat. Tuck
Mhm.
it away. Make sure it's protected, and lock your car. And then the
Right.
state came in and said, "Yep, nope, we're going to do away with that." And
They did. They made it blanket for the whole state too. They said no
yeah,
jurisdiction within the state can make a separate law based on what happens there, which means you
yeah,
can't make in your county, you can't make a law that says you got to lock up your guns if there's minors around.
hmm
Like, they said, no, you got to follow the state law no matter what. And actually, which is silly. Instead of making that law that Savannah passed based on people breaking into cars, guns being stolen, and guns being used for violent crimes, this was their part of their solution to it, to help get some of those guns off the street. They weren't taking guns away from people. They were just saying store them properly.
Yeah.
So why take that away from the county and not make it statewide?
Mhm.
It's a reasonable gun law. It's reasonable and
I agree.
responsible.
I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah, I agree.
No.
Yeah, Linda. Yeah, I saw this. Somebody that was a couple days ago too. Yeah, their 8-year-old, was it a girl? I think, and Jenny or some, I forget. One of our mods. Forgive me, mods. So much
Yeah.
is going on, but one of you posted that in our mod chat as well. That just happened. I think
Yeah,
I want to say it was Jenny, but if it wasn't, sorry guys.
it happens
But,
here
yeah.
on the East Coast a lot. We have a lot of like unregistered guns.
Mhm.
Kids bringing guns to work, not even for like young kids who just find them,
Mhm.
bringing them in. It's actually tragic. We have a lot. Unfortunately, we need just better gun laws. We here on the East Coast, we have a little bit more as far as you have to be licensed to carry. You have to store it properly. We have a little more of that
Mhm.
than they do in some of our Midwest or southern states where gun use is used differently than here on the East Coast. Here on the East Coast, it's like a gun range, and we do
Mhm.
have some hunting and everything, but it's not as prominent,
Right. So
But-
coup de grace, Hall County. Okay, so that's where this was. They were pulling them,
Mhm.
right? They were pulling him into Hall, from Hall County to Barrow
Mhm.
County. Yeah, so it literally just happened in the county where these jurors were coming from. Thank you, coup de grace.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
You may
So
have said it too. You may have told me too. So apologies if I missed that. But yeah,
no,
go
no,
ahead.
no. That's
Yeah.
okay. Like some of the laws that have changed recently are basically all on what this putting responsibilities back on the school. Like, did
Mhm.
you see that? Like some, making sure that they've got a better response, like they're putting a stricter response, possibly metal detectors,
Mhm.
and making more crisis teams, mental health, and actually letting them go a little bit farther in mental health with the school. Like there's all this stuff up for legislation that is going through. But I found it interesting that the state itself was focusing more on the school system and on that instead of the gun laws themselves for storage. Like I was just like, they just want to ignore that part, and still are. It
Mhm.
still are absolutely ignoring that completely, and
Right.
just making it more of on the response instead of the access, and preventing the tragedy, more on the response to the tragedy.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Being reactive instead of proactive.
Exactly.
Yep.
That was a little disheartening for me. I was really hoping, but it's still early. Hopefully some advocates will pick it up and go, come on, this is crazy. You
Right.
know? Um,
Well, there's always going to be a push and a pull, as we know. There's always going to be both
Mhm.
sides, two sides to this, and I, I don't know when it's going to get resolved, how it's going to. Well, I know how it can be resolved, but whether it will be or not, but
mhm.
I don't know if we'll see it. I don't know if we'll see it in our lifetime, But
Well, it was encouraging when we heard, I think you're going to play the prosecutor's speech.
yeah,
Uh, that was encouraging to me because it sounds like on a prosecution end, they understand where the system is failing in that light and would appreciate better laws that they could use to get this under control, or to at least get justice for victims of it.
yeah, yeah. Let's pull that up. All right. So this is Brad. Is it Brad Hall? Is that his name? I'm sorry, I forget his name. Is it Brad Hall? I think that's his name.
Is it Hall or Smith? I forget.
I know. That's bad that Brad Smith.
Brad Smith, right?
Brad
Yeah.
Smith, yeah. All right, so
Yeah.
this is Brad Smith's press conference. Let's check this out. I have not seen this yet, so I'm looking forward to hearing
Mhm.
this. All right. Sorry. Doop. I just meant.
Just tell you straight off the bat, we're very happy with the jury's verdict. The victims are very happy with the jury's verdict, and I'll answer any questions anyone has. Courtney?
What does this mean for the state of Georgia, this guilty verdict, the first time a parent has been charged in connection to a school shooting?
Well, we hope that it moves the needle a little further. I think you saw in this case that the mother actually reviewed what happened in Michigan, which would have been the first one, and she then, as a result of that, asked her husband to remove the weapons, it could have ended this tragedy. So Michigan was able to move the needle to the point that it almost stopped this tragedy. We don't know how many tragedies it did stop. And we hope we've moved the needle a little further.
At what point in this investigation did you decide to charge the father?
It would have been in the first few days. Of course, we learned about the shrine in the house early on, which worried us. And then when we found out about the FBI 2 years before at the house, or a year and a half before, that started to connect the dots with us, that he had a long time of knowledge. So we were leaning towards charging, and probably did charge at that point. The text messages came in later and just reinforced our decision.
You had an opportunity to talk to jurors afterwards.
Yes.
What did they share with you? This is an extremely quick verdict considering the length of this trial.
They were very happy with our presentation. They thought we did a good job. They had some questions about things they didn't see, evidence they weren't allowed to see. We talked to them a little bit about that. And they just kind of talked us through where the children were, where the victims were, how they were doing. And we reassured them on that front.
What was the biggest piece of evidence that you think led to this guilty verdict by the jurors?
I don't think it was one piece of evidence. I think it was the fact that it was multiple pieces of evidence over a lengthy period of time that really showed them what was happening inside that house and all the warnings that were missed. I think it's one of those things, the defense talked about a slippery slope, but it wasn't like one parent missed one warning. This was multiple warnings over a lengthy period of time. And like we said, you just had to do one thing and take that rifle away, and this would have been prevented. So I think it was all of those things together.
You did get him to concede on the stand that he was told by Colt that was Nicholas Cruz in those pictures. Do you think that was a big moment for jurors?
Absolutely. I mean, how do you allow those pictures on your child's wall and not question it further?
At what point for you should he have locked up the guns?
That calls for a lot of speculation. I would have never given my 14-year-old child a firearm like that after Jackson County coming to my house. I think most parents wouldn't have done that. I don't know if that is criminal at that point, but it certainly reaches common sense.
What do you recommend for sentencing?
We haven't decided that yet. We're going to talk with the victims' families. I haven't actually spoken to them at all since the verdict came out. So we're going to go talk with them, get them ready. Sentencing will be at a future time when they can all be here and speak to the judge, and we'll discuss it with them and make a decision.
What have the victims' families told you prior to this, like throughout this process? Or are there any comments that they've made that sort of stand out in your mind?
I don't think it was a common reaction. They all are reacting to their grief in different ways. They all have different perspectives, and we've listened to all of them and talked with all of them. And I don't think there's any common thing. I've just told them from the beginning that my plan was to prosecute this to the fullest extent of the law. And that's what we've done.
When you spoke to jurors, did they give any sense that they were trying to send a message?
I don't think I got that sense from them. I think they were looking at this case, these facts, and this law, and coming to a decision.
Were you surprised
Yes,
by how
Defense
quickly?
actually blamed others in this case, said D. Martin could have been to blame, said Lisa Butler. What do you say, or the mother should have known something? How do you explain that to viewers who haven't been watching this 2-week trial?
One of the things that came to light during our investigation was that the reason so many lives were saved at Appalachia was because of lessons we learned from prior tragedies. So I am all for looking at these things. What could we have done better? What can we do in the future to make our children safer? But the blame game, these were good people trying to make their best decisions as they could with limited information. The one person that had all the information was the one that didn't act.
Did you ever actually consider charges for Marcy Gray?
Absolutely. We found what she did to be morally reprehensible. We do not believe she's a good mother, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, she did not have custody of Colt. She did not have proximity to Colt. And she was not the one that provided him the firearms.
Can you provide any update on Colt's case and where that stands at this point?
I cannot. The state stands ready to try the case at any time.
What does this verdict mean for the community here in the county?
I hope it starts the healing process. It can't, of course, complete it until we finish the whole trial, both trials. but I hope that they can start moving forward with their healing.
Were you surprised at how quick the verdict came?
If they didn't come back in 5 minutes, I start sweating. So to me, it seems like an eternity.
What message do you hope this case sends to other parents here in Barrow County or around the country?
Well, at my college, there was a plaque on the wall that said, "Duty is the sublimest word in the English language." And we talk a lot about rights in our country. We're proud of our rights, and I'm proud of our rights. But, our rights were given to us by our forefathers. But God gave us a duty to protect our children. And I hope that we remember that as parents, as community members, to protect our children, because that is our God-given duty.
Legal question. Colt has the presumption of innocence.
Yes, sir.
But how can he still have that when his father's been convicted now of crimes that he allegedly committed?
That's a question for the courts and his defense attorneys.
Can you give our audience a sense of how much work you and your team put into a case like this?
Hours, lives. We've had Ashley Gilliland, who testified in the trial, Amanda Dibble, Jenny, thank you, worked extremely hard on this case. It is all they've been doing for the last year, at least. The hours we put in has been tremendous, but we wanted to honor the families, the victims. We wanted to honor all the hard work that law enforcement did, and us not giving everything we had to this case would have been dishonor to them, and we weren't going to do that.
And clearly it had an emotional impact on your entire team as well as you. There were moments that we saw you, tearing up as we heard testimony from those survivors.
Well, we're all parents. We can never understand the full grief, but it touches us. And we've met these families, we've dealt with these families, we walked through with these families, and yeah, it's emotional.
There were points throughout leading up to the tragedy when law enforcement could have stepped in to interrupt the situation in some way, or have spoken up a little bit louder than they did. Do you think there are some lessons that can be learned from that for law enforcement in the county as far as how to prevent this kind of situation from happening again?
Yeah, we've been discussing that as a law enforcement community. In fact, y'all probably know that after this event happened, we got a flood of threats coming in from kids all over the world, because kids are kids, I guess. So we've had to discuss, how are we going to deal with these? How are we going to work through all of these threats where children are doing this what we would consider outrageous actions of calling in threats when they don't mean anything. So there's been a lot of discussions with law enforcement about how to deal with these sorts of things going forward.
What would you say to those that are disturbed by this verdict across the nation, who think this is a parent that is being held responsible for something that his child did? What would you tell those people?
I would say, please watch my opening. This was a trial about this defendant's actions, his choices, and his responsibility. All right. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate everything.
Mm-hmm. It was well said.
Yeah, there was a lot. There was a lot in there that I was like, yeah, it's we love our rights, we love our amendments, we fight for those rights, we fight for our amendments, but at the end of the day, we have our duty to our children. Why are we not putting that in front of our own,
Right.
our own rights? We should be putting our children first, so.
And they did, and it seems like that community itself, in pressure towards the state, they do have a couple of bills that passed, in 2025 and also earlier this year, dealing with mental health in the school system specifically. Like with the school system now mandated, they have to have qualified mental health coordinators on staff. They have to have a mobile panic alert system, and they have to have behavioral threat assessment plans by January 2027. And a behavioral threat assessment plan is probably something Lisa Butler would have been able to use to go further in what she was seeing with Colt. The problem is that people can only go so far. like the law enforcement officers. What law did they have to back them up to even enter that home, to even demand that those weapons be locked up? They had nothing to back them up. So even though common sense is screaming at them, what can they do legally?
They would have had to go to a judge, and the judge would have said, give me probable cause, give me, red flag warning, give me some kind of indication. And what did they do? The kid said he didn't do it. The dad said, did you do it? Kid says, no, I didn't do it. I mean, what more can they do? Unfortunately, it's like when a woman goes or a man goes to law enforcement. Oh, I'm getting beat on by my spouse or whatever, and they're like, well, we can't do anything about it until
only the laws, like whatever the laws state, like we can only go so far, even though
yeah.
I mean, one of the other things they did, based on what the victims and victims' families were going through, is they mandated to the Department of Education to have a mental health crisis plan by January of this year in state to provide services to everyone involved, and for any incidences of violence or trauma like this that would happen in a community again. One of the other things they're trying to do is to get gun safety laws taught in K through 12. Did you see that? Like that hasn't passed yet. But for this year's legislation, that's one of the bills that's being pushed through. It's a sponsored bill that would require every public school district to, and this is a Senate bill, like this is going to be bigger than just the state, like for age appropriate firearm safety instruction for students through grades K through 12. But it didn't get very far so far, but it's one of them that they're looking at. Yeah.
Specific to Georgia, or is that federal?
It's Senate Bill 401. I think that it could be the state. When I did the research, I asked only for Georgia, so I'm hoping that that's what they gave me. But it's the Senate Bill 401. Okay. And they also had given me at the same time that other one we talked about, the Pediatric Health Safe Storage Act, which was a high profile bill about creating a misdemeanor offense for adults who negligently allow a child under the age of 18 to access a loaded firearm. In a way, that just makes the offense less. Like, what if they had charged Colin as a misdemeanor? This would have been an affront to justice, actually, for him to just get a misdemeanor offense when so many people tragically died, and so many people are traumatized,
Right.
It's a very small Band-Aid on a huge issue,
Right. Agreed. Agreed. Yeah. So okay. So Brad Smith, I thought he had some good comments there.
Did.
And we'll wait to see what happens with Colt. That's still up in the air. My next clip that I have, unless you have anything else you want to say about.
No. Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. So this next clip is from a survivor. I don't know who the survivor is, but
I have not seen this yet because I knew it was going to be so emotional.
So let's check this out. This is one of the survivors. So let's see what this has for us.
Forever. And Channel 2's Candace McCowan continues our live Team 2 coverage outside Appalachia High School. Candace, you spoke to a student shot that day who said this verdict made her want to cry.
Yeah, and Linda, she said it's been a tough few weeks here at Appalachia High School. We're just about 5 miles away from where that trial happened, but she said that this verdict was a moment of relief.
I think I was happy.
I was happy and I wanted to cry.
Like many days, Taylor Jones didn't make it to class at Appalachia High School, another doctor's appointment. So she was home and watched the verdict with her grandfather.
He could have stopped this, and he should have.
I don't want to be ugly, but I think he got what he deserves. But anybody that would buy a kid a gun, an assault rifle, that's only 14.
So sorry. So Taylor Jones was a 14th on the stand. She was shot in the leg. She passed out. She had multiple surgeries. She did go back to school this past year, but she was out for a whole year, and she does go to counseling. So that's Taylor Jones. Okay.
13 when he got it, maybe. I don't know. That's not logical. That's crazy.
A bullet ripped through Taylor's leg September 4th of 2024 at Appalachian High School. She lost consciousness and had to be airlifted to Grady Hospital. She's one of the students who took the stand during Colin Gray's trial. Her grandfather wants the judge to consider the fact she's still recovering.
It's not over. We actually got to go to the doctor again tomorrow at CHOA. We got to leave at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then she still has therapy 3 times a week.
This family and others with loved ones in the school that day hope this sweeping verdict sends a message to every parent.
And they need to be mindful of their actions have consequences, in my opinion.
I think that these are going to be steps towards, what parents should be responsible for when it comes to their guns and their access to weapons, and, taking note of their kids' mental health as well.
Yeah, I feel a lot better because I was stressing a lot about it.
I asked Taylor what it's been like inside school here since this has all been going on. She says not many people are talking about the trial, but it is on everybody's minds because it is all over social media. She talked about the likelihood of another trial. We're putting that part of the story together for Channel 2 Action News at 6. For now, live here outside of Appalachian High School, I'm Candace McCowan for Channel 2 Action News.
Candace, I just hope that student gets stronger and stronger every year. Well, here's what's next. Colt Gray is now 16. He faces 55 charges, including murder for the 4 victims who died that day. He entered a not guilty plea back in 2024. Investigators then said he admitted to the shooting. His trial date has not yet been set, but a status hearing is scheduled for this month.
Wow.
Yeah.
The admitting part, I mean, what does that mean? They got so much video of this kid. I really don't think that matters very much.
No, I think even not even a first day law student could try that case against him and win.
Although I will say, if he did, it does speak promising for his mental health in his ability to move forward with accountability.
Yeah,
it would be a good sign for him outside of his parents.
Yeah, I wonder how he is. That's a good question. I wonder how he's doing now that he hasn't had contact with his parents. Presumably, I don't know. Certainly, Colin hasn't had contact with him, but I wonder if Marcy. I think Jenny said she hasn't had contact with him.
I don't think she's allowed. I mean, Marcy's under strict probation, like a parole kind of thing, right? And with her immunity deal and all, I don't think she has contact with any of her children. Yeah. And as a matter of fact, I would be seriously disappointed in the prosecution if that wasn't part of the immunity deal, to make sure that everybody got the help that they needed. This all seemed like a very pro-victim injustice. The prosecutor himself, how well-spoken he was, and some of the language he used made me think he was focused on making sure that even Colt would get the help that he needed. Mm-hmm. I mean, he seemed to be focused on how damaging this was to so many people, everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
This is an interesting point Jill brings up. She grew up in the 50s. We had many firearms, and parents never had to worry about us playing with them. We just knew. I think it was a matter of life. I think it's a matter of the life we're in today. I remember as a kid, we had my dad had a .22. My brother had shotguns. Of course, I had BB guns, and I remember playing with that .22, but there weren't bullets in it. But I remember running around playing war and doing all this stuff. So, and then that being said, when I was in 7th grade, an eighth grade student, he took his own life. And how I don't know the circumstances to that, but yeah, I mean, you just didn't hear of. Maybe it was happening, and the media wasn't reporting on it as much as they are now. I don't know. What do you think? What changed? Why is it different?
I don't think anything's changed, because I can recall specific cases all through my life, in that I wasn't born in the 50s. I was born a little bit later, but I can clearly remember in my own area a 5-year-old shooting his 3-year-old brother. I can remember, all of these cases where minors have had access to guns, and tragedies have happened. A particular backyard birthday party where several children were injured and adults were injured because the one child thought this was one of his gifts because it was a box under the bed, and he brought it outside and he didn't realize it wasn't a toy gun and it was loaded.
Right.
And several people were injured. The kid didn't even realize he was shooting. Like, it was horrible. Well, so I can remember all of these events, and they did hit the news. This is how I know about it. This is before the internet, like, before I could go online and search for all of this stuff. And I just remember all of this, so many school shootings, and not just school shootings or minors, but just the mental health issue with guns in itself for almost all of the mass shootings that we have had. Like, unfortunately here in America, it's almost, I would say, daily. There's actually been mandates to keep it out of the media as much, because it was like, as of last year and the year before that, you heard about it almost every day, every other day. If you look for them, they're happening every single day.
Right.
I don't think it's new. I think we're more aware of it. A lot of the laws, a good point is that since the 50s, in a place like Georgia, that law has not changed, regardless of the tragedies. If you think of all the tragedies since the 50s that have happened in that state, and yet the law has not changed, that I don't understand. I mean, safe storage isn't taking your gun away. It's asking you to making the regrettable a little more improbable.
Right.
What's wrong with that? Why have regret if there's one step you can take to make it a little less probable that it happens? No one wants to think a child's in rage is going to go grab a gun and do something like this. It's not a natural thought for all of us to have. But we have to cross that line and get rid of the probability, especially with the rampant mental health issues that have developed. I think if anything has developed more obviously since the 50s, it's the acknowledgement of the mental health issues that are involved here.
I think that's a really great point, what you brought up with that the story that you told about the child with the birthday party and the weapon firearm was underneath the bed, and the ammo, the bullets were in. That's the other thing, is we never had, like, it was never loaded. It was
Like,
separate.
that's common sense. Most parents are like, that's where you take the action against regrettable and make it less probable that something bad's going to happen. Like, you would have to consciously go look for those bullets, right, and put them in the gun to do something.
Absolutely.
So less accidents can happen. I mean,
Right. And then I have the argument in my mind of, like, well, if the whole reason you have a firearm is to protect yourself, right, from somebody breaking in, all that stuff, theoretically. So if your weapon is locked in a gun locker, and somebody breaks in, how are you going to have time to go to that locker and get, if the bullets are over there and the gun's over there, how are you going to do that?
Well, I think it is possible, because every police officer in my state locks up his gun when he gets home. Okay, in a gun safe. And and I don't think he's sitting there wrestling with the fact that if somebody breaks in, I'm not going to be able to get them. I think he knows it's easy to get into that gun safe. He knows where it is. He keeps it in his nightstand drawer or wherever. He says, we're not talking about up in the attic or anything like that. We're just talking about a mechanism that a child cannot open that gun, or an intruder. You don't want somebody coming in and getting that gun to use on you either.
Exactly.
Make it more difficult for them. So, like, if those laws pass certain states, and we're not seeing, I would have to research it, but it doesn't stand to reason I'm not hearing a lot of gun invasion, gun injuries, or people being injured because they didn't have access for a gun in my state. Like, I think they would be, a big squawk about it if, like, there'd be people saying, oh, if I could only have opened my gun safe sooner, my house wouldn't have got robbed, or I wouldn't have suffered this, or anything, because we're a very litigious country. We're a very vocal advocacy, country. And an American thinks something's going wrong in their life, and they start squawking about it, like, right away. You know, I make a joke all the time. We're a country of Karens. There's like no doubt about it. Like we'd be screaming from the mountains, you know, like with the top of the mountain about it. And I don't hear anything like that. So I don't think that's I think that's a straw man argument a little bit. I think that's moving the goalposts to just get us away from the issue that access to guns for at least minors is a horrible thing, and there's no rational thing you can tell me that says we shouldn't, that would make me think we shouldn't do it. We
Right.
shouldn't lock them up.
That's a good point. Like I always think when I have that little argument in my head, it's like, you're right. The locker, it's not going to be in the basement. It's not going to be in the attic. It's not going to be, you know, it's going to
Most
be in
police
your room.
officers, yeah, it's in your nightstand. Most police officers have it like right, you know, where they're going, like when they're home, like they get home from a long day, the majority of the time that they spend, that's where the gun's going to be. So the majority of the time they're spending 6 to 8 hours sleeping, right? So that gun is in the gun box, in the nightstand drawer, or on the table, so that it, you know, if anything happens, they have access to it.
Right. I guess, and unless you're Paul Canero, when he has a freaking arsenal in his basement.
And he had a gun locker, right? Like we saw the gun lockers, like, right? But everything's out everywhere because like legally he had to have the gun locker. You know, like I want to see that argument where he like gets away with not actually having to lock them up. Like, you know, you, as long as you own the gun locker, like that's okay. Like, oh my, that was crazy.
I think I lost track of how many rifles he had, right? He had like 20 rifles. He had like,
it was so many,
thousands of rounds of ammunition.
Yes, and that's how prevalent it is, because you don't hear about this all the time. But he's a businessman, right? I mean, they're dealing with computers in pest control, and he's got an arsenal like he's a gun lord, like he's a drug lord or something, or some kind of criminal. Like, the fascination. But this is how it is. These are the people who want to collect them and do like that. These are the ones we're actually pushing against when we're talking about locking up guns and stuff. These are the people advocating for, like, you're not going to make my life inconvenient because some 14-year-old did something in another state. Like they don't want to deal with it. Like they don't want to deal with it at all. It's just like it's too inconvenient for me.
Right. Yeah, and then to further, you know, aggravate everything, Colin had two, I guess, gun somehow. I'm not even sure what they were.
Listen, when we heard that he ordered the kid the vest and the sight, what did he think this child? I mean, they're talking about hunting.
Yeah.
What does he think? And he needs, what was it? The thing that made multiple shots evident, like the thing that, like, what did he think this kid was doing?
Oh, modify? He modified?
Yeah.
It? Oh, I didn't know that.
Like that thing, like the kid's asking for more advanced clips of ammunition.
Oh,
like,
okay.
And so what does, like, the fact that Colin doesn't know what's going on, it just beyond, he's either really, really stupid or he also has some kind of thing going on where he either drinks or he does medication. Like something's wrong there that he didn't see all that. The kid actually asked for a bulletproof vest.
Yeah.
I mean, and a sight. What is he like? I can understand he can try to like talk him into the sight because of, you know, deer being so far away and learning how to use your weapon and everything like that. But man, that list was very, very school shooter-ish, so to say. It was very much like the Parkland shooter.
Yeah.
You know, and what does Colin say? Oh, he just wanted to drink. He wanted to just dress up like the guy. And I'm like, no, how did you think that was normal?
Right.
Like, how do you, we're not talking about it. Was Colt so manipulative he convinced him it was a Halloween costume? Like, then he was just getting ready for it? Or that, like, what? Like,
well, it was pretty obvious that Colt would stomp his feet and Colin would just placate him, whether it was just to get Colt to stop whining or was he truly afraid of him, right? Then there's that.
As a parent, that annoys me so much. Like, you're a parent, you can't be a friend. I mean, a lot of parents, I mean, yes, you can have good, friendly, wonderful, supportive relationships with your children. I'm all for it. When it comes down to the black and white of, you know, teaching, in setting a good example, in actually taking accountability and doling out punishments, like that's not very friendly stuff. Like that's parent stuff. And it seems like Colin failed in that department a lot. or
Yeah.
he just wanted to be the good guy, you
Yep.
know?
Yep.
He just wanted to be the one, like, because of his like there's so much that came out in the trial about his relationship with Marcy, where this divorce and this separation, the parents' relationship itself was just so damaging to the kids. Like they're just falling through the cracks because these two are just like bad for each other at this point. Like so much resentment in blaming and finger pointing and typical divorce stuff, by the way, like that happens. I'm not saying that was extraordinary, but it just puts a spotlight on, like, that's when kids really need some extra help when stuff like that is going on in the house.
Yeah. Yeah, it was Poppy reminded me it was the gun lock, right? So he had 2 locks, and I guess they came with when he purchased the rifles, and they were still in the packaging. They weren't even like opened up, even just simple.
Look at that. The manufacturer is trying to do calming sense and give you a little hint there that, like, this is a weapon and it needs to be locked up when not in use. And then people just like, oh, because people keep saying, well, Claire, it's common sense. You shouldn't need a law to say that. Well, this just proves it. If you don't even take the gun lock out of the wrapper, like, no, you can't depend on common sense, because apparently in our day and age, if you want to compare to the 50s, well, common sense, that's the rarity. That's the thing. That's the thing we're not seeing enough of.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wanted 150 rounds, and then if you can't get 150, I think he got 150. Then he asked for another 150, and he's like, "Yeah, Mike." He's like,
"Oh yeah." And what did they use for hunting? Maybe 30 at a time. The father testified to. So, and your kid asked for like 5 times that, and no bells go off in your head.
Right, and then some. It was 150, I think, and then like the next week or two, he's like, "Get 150 more, or if you can't, then get 50 would be fine," or something like that. Yeah, he was asking for a ridiculous amount of ammo. Yeah.
And not once did I see Colin ask, what for?
No.
What for?
No. Yeah, he said he told I think it was on Cross. He's like, well, we were going to go hunting. We were going to go to the range. Or I'm sorry, we were going to go to the range or whatever it was. And I think the last time they went was in March, right? It was a school day, and he took them in March. And that may have even been
September, and he's buying all this. What does he think he's doing with the ammunition? He hasn't gone hunting since March.
Yeah.
Where is all this ammunition going? If he's not doing it with his father, and his father's responsible for teaching him hunting and taking, where's he using all this ammunition he's buying?
Mm-hmm.
What is this kid doing? I mean, this kid in the backyard every day shooting?
Yeah. All right, Mike, we'll see. I agree. I don't understand that concept either, because you're just going to destroy whatever it is that you shoot. I don't
get that either, Mike. And I get trashed all the time for saying it, but I'm like, you're ruining the meat and everything. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Makes no sense.
Automatic weapon for hunting. Yeah. Are you kidding me? Like, what? Why do you need that?
Yeah. And it's not sport anymore, because a lot of hunters, it is sport. I get it. And there's a lot of, there's 99% of the people out there.
And I don't want to mess with the Constitution. I don't want to mess with it. And I don't want to mess with, our rights. I'm not for taking people's Second Amendment right away. I'm not. I think you have the right to a weapon. And I think you have the right to carry that weapon. But I also think you have responsibilities to go with it. And I think it's our country's responsibility to make sure that those things happen, that there's some semblance and unified law about it, but that seems to be the issue.
Well, again, with cars, with a 4,000 ton pound, I should say, a vehicle that's going down a road 60, 70, 80 miles an hour, there are laws of physics that you have to abide by. And if you don't, you're going to either kill yourself or kill somebody else. There are laws that say, you have to stop at a stoplight, or else you're going to kill yourself and or somebody else. So, we have laws. It's not like we don't have laws.
And in some states, they take it even farther for maintenance of those vehicles, to make sure the brakes are in good order and make sure that there's a certain standard that everything comes up to. And yet other states don't have any inspection laws on vehicles whatsoever that you have to abide by.
Right.
Like, they just leave it to common sense. Well, it's up to you.
Yeah. All right. So I've got 2 more to play. We've got Sheriff Smith. So Sheriff
Oh,
Judge.
his testimony was so heartbreaking.
Yeah,
Is that
he
the
was.
one who? Yes, I believe that's the
Yeah, his
officer that got teary-eyed on the stand. Yes.
correct. Yeah, yeah. So he was interviewed after
Yeah.
the verdict. Yeah, he was pretty close to the beginning. Let me just. He might have been day one.
Isn't he one of the first responders?
Yeah, he was the sixth witness, and I don't know if he was like he wasn't first. He was close though. He was like within the first wave. Remember they talked about different waves and stuff. I'm pretty sure he was in the first wave. I think his sister. I'm sorry, his daughter was going to high school, and they were getting all these other call-ins about different active shooters, threats or whatever, tips. I got the sense that he knew these people. Like firsthand, like he probably sees them in church. He probably goes to the football games. He probably, sees him shopping. It's like, I get the sense he's one of those kind of
Right.
sheriffs. He's very active in his community, and yeah, he got visibly emotional on the stand. So I have not seen this yet either. So let's check this one out. I don't want to ask about the video. I want to turn that off. Can I turn that off?
Yeah, just exit, I think.
Okay. All right, let's check this out.
Today, Colin Gray guilty on all counts, including second-degree murder.
It's a good day. Still very surreal. A year and a half of hard work that we put in to try to provide to our wonderful DA that did an impeccable job. So proud of them. He come to us and said, if you gather the facts, give me the facts, give me the information, and I'll create a timeline and I will present to our jury, and we will, hopefully justice will be served. And he told me, he said, I want a fair trial for everyone involved, and that's what our DA did, and did an impeccable job with his team. And I cannot say enough about him and what he presented from beginning to end.
To be there when it happened back in 2024 and to get this verdict, what does that mean for your department?
A lot of work that we put in to gather those facts, a lot of little details that gathered those facts, culminated in today, culminated into a jury having the facts to make an informed decision, and they did. Just very glad that our judicial system worked. That's the biggest thing that I can say. And, we're still reeling from the tragedy. We have a lot of families that are still jarred from that. A lot of young people that are still struggling. Our community is still struggling, but it helps us heal knowing that a little bit of justice was served today. We still have work to do. Some people say the alleged shooter. I don't. Colt case is next if that happens. And so our work today was completed with Colin, and the second half will be completed when Colt was prosecuted.
Sheriff, obviously Colin supplied the gun, Colt did the shooting. Why should Colin be held accountable?
Why should he be held accountable? Because the signs that were there, in my opinion. There were many signs. He gave his child, who obviously had some violent tendencies, a tool that can be used for violence. That's the bottom line, and I'm glad you asked that question. And I applaud our DA for seeing that for what it was on its face. Glad you asked it because it was very divided in the community on social media and other areas that, why are we doing this? When you see the signs and you see that mental health is an issue for someone, you don't provide them with a tool that can harm other people. And that's why I think this is unprecedented as it is. And I think it's a testament to what our DA's office and our prosecution and the judicial system can do when you're provided the facts and you're given clear facts on what's going to happen.
Obvious question, but one I'm going to ask you. Good decision or bad decision today?
It's a great decision today. It's a great decision that our jury was able to make an informed decision and that our system worked.
To Chris's point, this is the third parent to be charged, just the third parent, but we've had a number of mass shootings in this country over several years. What kind of message would you say to parents, or, we can't prevent tragedy, but we can hopefully try?
As hard as this can be sometimes, parents need to be parents and not friends. the message I would send to people is that be a parent. Not everybody needs to be a parent, and I will stand by the statement. The mother failed to be a mother in this case, and people say, why not her? He was in the custody of Colin. Colin knew the signs were there, the evidence was there, and he made a poor decision allowing him to have a very dangerous weapon that can harm other human beings.
Thank you, sir. I have just one more question. What was it like to be in that courtroom during this, testifying, and now getting this verdict?
Very surreal. I was a bit surprised, honestly. I was thinking, maybe they come back with some questions. But the jury pretty much made it very clear in less than about 2 hours of deliberations that the decision was made in their mind. And again, goes back to the prosecution and Brad Smith and his team in our DA's office made very clear details as to what, gave them very clear points for them to think about, and they did, and they made a really good decision, in my opinion.
I think emotional is an understatement to what you went through for the past 2 weeks.
It is. It's very emotional. It's still, the scars are very deep. Our community is still rocked by it. Maybe this will put to rest some fears and anxiety that our people have had in our community and our kids. But you know what? I still applaud our kids that go to school every day. I applaud our staff that still goes to school every day. I applaud our first responders. And I applaud our community because, the one thing that Colt didn't account for is the resiliency that our community has and always will have.
Sheriff, anything else you'd like to add?
That's it. Thank you.
All right.
So my first reaction is, I'm sure, being a sheriff, he's probably all for the Second Amendment. And yet here he is saying this guy, meaning Colin, didn't take the steps to make sure his son, who showed signs of mental illness, mental instability, he didn't take steps to ensure that he would not have access to something that would hurt people.
Right.
I mean, it's not that big of a stretch. I just don't get it.
Yeah, and it's hard to legislate, being a parent. It's hard. What is common sense to all of us? Actually, you can't really legislate that. What do you charge them with? It's otherwise, we would have laws about being a bad person, just in general and stuff. And, there's some lines we don't cross, like for personal freedoms and stuff. And, people hesitate to tell parents how to raise their children. It's kind of, speculative. We all get to do it, our way, so to speak.
Right.
There's some societal things that we put on, but those things change based on it's a lot different in 2026 than it was in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. There's a lot of different pressures. There's a lot of different exposure. Or the world is a much smaller place for kids growing up right now. Access to just about anything, and a little bit of it takes a lot more parenting to control that access than it used to, because of the internet and because of access, with commonplace access. It's not like you could keep a child off the internet. They use it in school, they use it everywhere. It's like commonplace everyday life. Your phones come with internet access. That should tell you something right there. It's not easy to limit it. They have all kinds of parental controls that you can use, but those take serious steps for you to set up and manage and monitor and make a plan and everything. A little different than saying, okay, when you come home, you got to do your homework and then you can go out to play until dinner or dark. It's a little different than it was maybe in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I would say even, the 70s, 80s, it's, things have changed. I mean, it's obvious, and we have to just keep trying to be positive and keep trying to think that we're doing the right thing. And sometimes your side wins, sometimes your side loses. And hopefully in the end, all sides, I should say, it's not two sides, but all sides are pushing for hopefully the same goal, or we somehow make it to the point where we make society a little bit more better than we were born into,
But you were right. Even without the legislative changes, you were right from the beginning in saying just the exposure of this trial itself will make a difference.
Yeah, I'm glad
how
Brad said that.
parents,
Yeah.
in how parents are looking at things, and to focus on the fact that like even the mom was looking at what happened to the Crumbleys, and now maybe even more parents across our country will be looking at what happened to the Grays, and
Yep. Yeah. And I'm glad Brad said that. Mr. Smith said that in his press conference. He's like, if, Marcy was looking up the Crumblies. If one parent looks up, hey, wow, my son's not doing so good mentally and I have a gun, what should I do? What will happen to me if I allow access? Maybe I should lock it up. Maybe I should at least put it in my bedroom and lock, do something, just do something.
I mean, that kind of cracks me up that mom's thinking about what happens to her. I'm like, she's such a selfish person. I'm very evident. But yeah, she's looking it up, not like, how do I prevent a tragedy? Like, how do I prevent this not falling on my head?
Right.
Like,
What's going to happen to me if
what's going to happen to me? Yeah.
Right. And even if you don't believe in the locking up, that's fine, whatever. Then get your kid help. Get your son or daughter help. Don't do what Colin did and just go to the door like we've said all the time. Like he just went to the door and just wouldn't go through. So at least be okay. I don't believe in locking up my gun. Screw you. But okay, maybe I'll go get my kid some help. At least do that.
And some parents, I can believe they would have a strong stance about whether the guns get locked up or not. But I don't think this parents did. I think this parents didn't even think about it. That's the problem. These parents just didn't even have a care in the world or care about anything that was going on except for their own selfish needs at that time, their own marital problems between the two of them. Just very personal between the two of them. It seemed to be the only thing that they cared about. Like the kids were all second nature, like secondary to everything.
Agreed. All right. So my final video I want to play, and we can talk about it. This is a school board meeting. This happened afterwards, I think. Let me see when this happened.
Is it after the trial or after the event? Okay,
After the trial. Yeah.
Because the Board of Education's been mostly impacted with all kinds of bills and suggestions lately.
Sorry.
Let's see what they have to say.
Yeah, sorry about that. Okay. All right. So this was March 3rd. This was the right afterwards. All right, let me see. Get this up here. All right.
Never forget the students and educators killed 2 years ago at Appalachia High School. I'm Blair Miller.
And I'm Tracy Hutchins. School board members spoke tonight during a scheduled meeting hours after Colin Gray was convicted on all charges in connection to that tragic shooting.
We will continue to heal, to support one another, and to overcome. And we will never forget.
Colin Gray could spend up to 180 years in prison for giving his son Colt the gun allegedly used in 2024.
Atlanta News First Alani Latang spoke with parents of the victims tonight, asking them if today's verdict brings them any closure.
The word I heard most after Colin Gray's murder conviction is happy. Happy that families can get some accountability, and happy that they got the acknowledgement that a parent should not have armed a child with a weapon.
It's a good day. Still very surreal.
Barrow County responding to the quick conviction of Colin Gray, guilty of murder and several other felonies for providing the gun his son Colt allegedly used in the Appalachia High School shooting that killed 2 students and 2 teachers in 2024.
Colin knew the signs were there, the evidence was there, and he made a poor decision allowing him to have a very dangerous weapon that can harm other human beings.
Hours after the conviction, the Barrow County school system opening their regular Tuesday meeting to thank the community, the district attorney's office.
We pay tribute to the heroism of our students, staff, and community, whose selfless actions have helped others.
Unfortunately, this trial brought out a lot of what happened by the second that morning, and there were a lot of failures.
Colin's guilty verdict coming with some Appalachia parents pushing for more written safety protocol out of the Board of Education.
I want to see them explain how what happened that morning won't happen again. And if they can't do that, we need people that will. It's common sense.
The school board saying their focus remains on being present for students, staff, and families, prioritizing well-being, comfort, and education.
We will continue to heal, to support one another, and to overcome. And we will never forget.
Never forgotten and still remembering.
Well, it's still, the scars are very deep. Our community's still rocked by it. Maybe this will put to rest some fears and anxiety that our people have had in our community and our kids. But you know what? I still applaud our kids that go to school every day. I applaud our staff that still goes to school every day. I applaud our first responders, and I applaud our community because, you know, the one thing that Colt didn't account for is the resiliency that our community has and always will have.
Parents and community members tell me they're going to continue pushing for tougher gun laws and for the school system to have more preventative measures. Reporting in Barrow County, I'm Alani Latang, Atlanta News First.
Colin Gray's conviction continues a precedent that was set in a similar case in Michigan. Ethan Crumbley was 15 in 2021 when he opened fire inside his high school 40 miles north of Detroit. 4 students were killed. 7 other people were hurt. Ethan pleaded guilty to all charges and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. His parents were convicted on involuntary manslaughter charges and sentenced to 15 years in prison. Brumbleys bought the gun that Ethan used and were accused of failing to secure that weapon and doing nothing to address their son's mental health issues.
There is still no court date set for Colt Gray. He pleaded not guilty months ago after his father, Colin Gray, was convicted today. Brad Smith, the district attorney for the Piedmont Judicial Circuit, said the state stands ready to try the case.
All right. So
see the difference in the charging in Michigan, in Georgia for the same kind of case, access to the gun, mental health issues, you should have known better. And look at the difference in the charging. Colin Gray has murder, and the Crumbleys have involuntary manslaughter.
Right. And they got 15 years, and Colin's going to get probably life. Well,
Life.
180 years, right? So,
And this is why they just need to decide how to charge these. You do see, like, if you're not pulling the trigger, you automatically think manslaughter is a more appropriate charge. You can cause the death, but you didn't actually intend it. Like, you're not the one pulling the trigger. But in a death penalty state, like this is murder in the second degree for criminal because of the negligence in the child cruelty. But like, what if they try to go further? Like, if there were more, would they go for the death penalty on Colin? Like, that would be actually serious, for a crime where you didn't pull the trigger.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Then there's that. Yeah. I mean,
which is just why they just need to come some kind of concession on how to charge these and make it easier for prosecution. From the beginning, I was amazed at how prosecution was going to get here with the way that they had to charge this case out. And they knew they needed to do something, and I applaud them. They did a really good job of laying it out. But that was a matter of knowing how difficult it was, knowing how strict the statutes are for those laws, in making sure that they had the evidence and could present it to the jury that would prove it. And actually explaining to the jury, they did a really good job on what they were doing. As far as, why am I showing you this evidence? Well, this goes to this charge. This goes to this part of the charge. This proves this. I think that's where closings and openings are so important. In preparing a judge, and this quiet judge too. Like, this judge was so quiet, or so much stress on such an important trial, and he was just.
Hold on a second. Yeah. Right. Okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
That was coming on another tab I had open. Sorry about that.
Oh, I didn't hear anything, so I guess
okay,
it might have just been out there.
It was just me.
The judge himself, like, I was hard to get a read on. Like, he's one of the more quiet judges that I've seen, as everything was going on. There were a few times I wish he would have intervened a little bit with the prosecution in the state, but,
right. I thought I agree with you. He was reserved, if you will, but I thought the state's closing and then the rebuttal afterwards really tied everything up for me.
It
It
did.
really,
And
yeah.
really, if
Yeah.
I would be so appreciative if I was on the jury stand, if I was part of the jury, because like I said, you can present all the evidence if you want, but if they don't see what you're trying to prove, like with it, if you
Mhm.
don't like connect it all together and say this goes to this charge, this goes to this charge, this is how we prove this. Sometimes it gets lost in the shuffle,
Mhm. Yeah.
But yeah, they've done that from the opening right to the closing and rebuttal, like all the way through.
Mhm. Yeah, the state prosecutors I thought were really solid. They ran a really good, tight trial. There really wasn't any moments. I'm trying to think. Were there any moments that I was questioning what they were doing?
It was easy to question with all the emotion in the beginning when they
Yeah.
had so many emotional witnesses on the stand, just
Mhm.
about the tragedy. But what they were also trying to show was the cruelty of it. How that led. They had to show that not only was there cruelty to Colt, but that led to the cruelty of all the children. They had to show that. They had to show that for the 29 charges.
Right.
So.
Right. All right. Let's see. Let's get to some questions. Horse welfare. What or when in the timeline did Colt say he was hearing voices? He told his mom. Let me see. He told his mom that he was manic, I think, right? And the voices told him.
I think that was like towards summer when she decided to give him the Zoloft or whatever. But
Right. Colt tells Colin he hears voices telling him what to do. 7:44 a.m. that morning, Colt texts, I have to kind of dance around the inconvenient truth sometimes. I don't have control what these voices tell me to do.
that was the day of the incident, though, right? That was the very concerning text. The
Yeah, I
day
think so.
of, right?
I think so. Or
Or
if
the
not,
day
it was
before?
like a couple days before.
Yeah, it was like
pretty,
right before.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
pretty close. Yeah. It was not like months before, weeks before. It was if not that day, it was like maybe a couple days before or whatever. But yeah. Well, actually I have September 30 skip school. September 4th is the shooting. Maybe it was August 31st. Maybe it was because August 31st, counselor asked Colin to take Colt, but he doesn't. Colt tells Colin. So maybe it was that's when he had that panic attack. Colt has the panic
Mhm.
attack. So it may have been like a couple days before, but it was
And that
within.
doesn't even remove him from that's like
Right.
crazy.
He's on 85 or whatever, and he's going to work or he's stuck at work, whatever it
Well,
is.
it's almost like dad is treating like this kid is so manipulative. He's just playing around to get what he wants all the time, knowing
Mhm.
that he gets what he wants from him. And he's just like, he's not taking anything seriously. The
Mhm.
kid's having a panic attack. I bet you he thought the kid was faking,
Yeah.
and the kid's saying he's hearing voices. I bet you he's just saying that just to get everybody upset and to get his way. Like,
Mhm.
it's almost like everything that Colt did, Colin was like, that's just Colt acting up again.
Yep.
And
again, buck up, chin up, stiff
Yeah.
upper lip, what's wrong with you? Yeah, I can see all of these things going through Colin's head because that's
Mhm.
probably what he was told. And, then that's where he comes across as cold. But, it's weird because then if you pay attention to your child, then you're coddling your kid. But it's like
Right.
this fine line between coddling your child and teaching them to get a thick skin.
And I've also heard the argument, not that I want to stand behind it at all, but I can understand their point, to where a lot of parents don't want to put their children in therapy because it seems like a failure on their part. Like they should be able to handle this stuff. Well, nobody expects a parent to be an expert on anything. What you have to be is to know like what you know, what you don't know, and when you're in over your head. In like, but I think that's hard for a parent sometimes to acknowledge that, is it just like they're acting out? Like we hear like teenagers act out. There's such an emotional world these days. Some people are more sensitive. Like,
Right.
where's the line? Where do you decide, okay, this needs professional help. This is beyond me. I mean, in this case with Colt Gray, it's pretty obvious. Like,
Right.
when a child is controlling the whole family, and I mean the whole family,
Mhm.
everything that this family does is being controlled by Colt's reaction to anything.
Yep.
Everybody's walking on eggshells. Everybody's just trying to please him. Even Jenny, Probably even the younger sibling, staying out of his way, whatever.
Yep.
Grandpa's pushing back a little bit, but he eventually just does what the family says to keep the peace. Marcy is, Colin definitely is, this child is that's the line right there for me. Like the child is now the one in control, then, well, obviously there needs to be some intervention,
Yeah. Oh, I agree. There's coddling. I think wouldn't even be a question of getting Colt help. He needed more than. I don't think you'd be accused of coddling him by just getting him to.
True, but we have to admit that was not Colin more aware of what other people would think and keeping people out of his personal business than not. Almost when I look at it, every decision Colin made was to keep people from knowing what was going on in his personal life.
True.
I
agree.
So, he's not going to get, like, if he gets the kid help, if he gets him in there, they're going to know everything. They're going to know how messed up the family is. They're going to know what a failure he is as a father, as a husband, so speak, as a man in general. So, whatever. Like, this seems to be more what he's worried about than Colt's mental health, rather. These names are getting me all mixed up sometimes. Like, does that happen to you? The Colin Colt thing? Like, I sometimes I call the father the son and the son the father.
Yeah, and then there's Coley. Is it Collie? Is it Coley?
And that's Colin's nickname too. They were calling him Collie. Even his lawyers were calling him Collie. I'm like, knock it off. Like this good old boy stuff is too much for me in this court. Like, no, his name's Collie. Like, keep it one name, please. Just one name.
Because his Gmail, I think, right, was a Gmail account, whatever his email account
was Collie. Yeah.
So that's when at first I saw that, I'm like, wait a minute, an 8-year-old has a email and he's emailing the school resources or the therapist. What's going on? So,
At least it's not like George Foreman, right? Who called all of his kids George. Like that would really. Can you imagine?
That's pretty fun. How many does he have? Like 6 or 7 or something? Or
oh my God, I thought 13 at one time.
13.
Like, I used to make a judge. I don't really think it's 13, but I used to make a joke about that. But I don't know.
All right, Nana, why isn't Marcy being charged when she gave Colt the Zoloft? Well, we kind of heard from
immunity deal.
Brad. Yeah. He said she's worse. She's not a good mother. She definitely is a terrible mother. Yeah. So, but she got immunity to testify against.
Yeah, and he was very clear. The deciding factor was access to the gun in custody. Had Marcy still had custody of her children, she'd be right there with him.
Yeah. Yeah, if they were living together and she was not.
In common sense, we're all finding her guilty anyway. But the law itself, there's no legal way to charge her if she doesn't have legal responsibility of the child if she doesn't have custody.
Right. Right. Widespread Panic asks, "Are we going to watch Marcy's elder abuse trial if it's available?" Yeah, I mean, I'd be willing to watch that.
I definitely want to know what happens there because I have a feeling that mom's not going to really testify against her. It's going to be kind of like wishy-washy for her, against her kind of stuff. Yeah, that happened. Like I kind of get the feeling from Mamu. Is that her name, Mamu?
Yeah,
she's one of those. Yeah, but you just don't understand how it is. Like she didn't really mean it. Like I'm just like, come on, Mom, really? Like seriously. The woman duct taped you to a chair, but she didn't mean it. Like, sure, okay.
Right. Who does that remind you of in this scenario, in this family?
Colin. Like, and she's not even related. This is what bothers me about this whole family dynamic. Well, I think we've talked about this before. There's so many people that should have been charged here. They're all culpable. They all need to take some accountability. And I hope they get those pocket mirrors out and start taking some really hard looks. Because it's okay for everybody else to push it on the school and push it on mental health and push it on the law enforcement, that those things had to change. But everybody involved in that family and everybody who had contact with that family needs to just take a good hard look at why they didn't want to do anything about what they obviously saw. There's no way I can believe as a person here that I want to, for my own mental health, believe that they didn't see anything. Like they didn't think anything was going on. Now I want to know, like, what made you not go forward? That's what you need to work on, because it's got to be a reason,
Right. Yeah, I'm sure. I was just thinking, you're just talking about the family dynamic. Charlie, the grandfather, married to Debbie Memu. Yeah. If Colt goes to trial, he would probably testify because he can bring in, he attacked my daughter and right, or stepdaughter, whatever Marcy was to him, and I called the police on him. Yeah, we'd probably hear from Charlie then, I would think.
And that will, I think, yes, the prosecution would definitely put all that up, because especially if Colt, his defense goes with he's a child, he didn't know anybody. It's all the adults in his life responsibility here. They at least had the pushback from the grandfather that was telling Colt all the time, hey, kids, knock it off. You can't do that. Like, there is pushback. So Colt's not going to get away with that in court. Like, the defense is going to have a harder time getting away with that. Like, hey, he's a victim here too, 100%. Like, they'll have that counter of Charles,
Right. Yeah,
that's if he testifies. That's if he chooses to testify.
Right.
Like, can you imagine being the grandfather and being that key in a trial that's going to decide the outcome of your grandchild's life?
Well, he wanted to put him in juvie. He wanted the cops to take him.
He's probably thinking jail's the best thing for him. He needs a hard lesson, for sure. Yeah, I'm sure he doesn't want him to get out without mental health help, for sure.
Right, little tough love for sure. Play on Crime asks, is giving Colt meds from mom a civil or state type crime?
That's a criminal offense. There's a prescription meds everywhere in the United States, and that is like on so many different violations. I can't even. Not only cruelty to a child and its abuse, but it's actually just straight out a criminal offense, a drug offense.
Yeah,
that is a class whatever drug that only is given with prescription. So she has no right whatsoever to give it to anybody but herself. Matter of fact, she even carrying it in public, she can't have it out of the prescription bottle. You need to have the prescription bottle with you to say where you got it and how you got it and what you're taking it for. Yeah, it's regulated totally. Right. It's criminal. It's a felony. It's a felony. It's not just a misdemeanor either. It's a felony. Okay.
Yeah. You could kill somebody. You literally could kill somebody if you gave them your prescriptions for you. I mean, look at the whole thing with Corey Richins in the Fent. That Robbie Crozier, he was using his prescription and he was reselling that. He was using other people's prescriptions and reselling
felonies.
That.
Right.
So,
all these people testifying in Corey's trial are all have all committed felonies. But here's the other thing. What a trial that would be with Marcy. Like, that's a criminal felony offense. And not only did she endanger Colin, but giving that medication to Colt. I didn't mean Colin. Not only did she endanger Colt, but giving that medication to Colt endangered the lives of all of those students in the school. Like, that would have been a trial too. Like, trying to tie that drug into what happened. Too. She definitely would be in the same position that Colin is right now. She'd be facing a murder charge in manslaughter charges and all those cruelty to children charges. Same exact charging. Not even giving him the access to the gun, but just just giving him the Zoloft. Had she had custody, she'd be sitting right next to Colin. I have no doubt. I have no doubt. If they still had shared custody. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And that's also a great point of there was no guarantee that Colt would have turned his anger on somebody other than the family. He could have very easily shot his dad. He could have shot up his family. It's not.
She could have caused a psychotic break beyond. She could have caused the child to take his own life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Colt, because he was, I think at one point he either texted or he said something about the teachers. At a previous school, the teachers, are I'm afraid of them, or they're making fun of me, or something to that effect. And it was the math teacher that he didn't like. So, and then there was speculation from, I think, the state. They were saying, well, that's why he went and he shot up the math classroom, or he tried to, and then he went next door. But it's like if he was upset at somebody making fun of him or whatever it was, they scared him. His dad could have very easily fallen into that category. And if he's, retaliating against that, his dad could have very easily, or his mom or his sister or whatever, neighbor, he could have very easily, shot and killed, I think, Colin. So they're not even thinking of that,
Yeah. It reminds me of a point that I thought of during the trial with the math teacher. She was the one who wanted to see what he had in the backpack too. I think this math teacher was somebody who had Colin's number, who
Mhm.
didn't want to take it as surface value. He knew he was like playing the system, so to speak, that he wasn't this docile, just emotionally bereft child, that he was being manipulative and dangerous in, possibly trying to get away with some stuff. She seemed to have his number.
Mhm.
And I think out of everybody who testified, I saw real regret, like how upset she was. And you could see it in the video where
Mhm.
she's talking to him. In the way she's moving, in the way she's talking, I'm wondering what's going through her mind, because she does seem to be having a dissatisfactory conversation with him. And he seems to be reacting. And then he has to leave. Then all of a sudden he goes back up there and he has to leave and he has to go to the bathroom and this, that, and the other thing. Like,
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah. So Brad's saying, yeah, her losing custody kept her from facing those same charges.
Exactly, Brad. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right about, I think it
The
was
math
Vera.
teacher.
I think it was Miss Greer, right? Yeah. And at one point, Colin walks out and she's just like looking at him, just watching this.
She followed him the whole way. Like, I know she knows, like, something's not right here.
Yep.
And it just, I feel for her so bad, because to be in
Mhm.
that position and you kind of know, but you don't know exactly, and you didn't take that extra step,
Mhm.
it's just like, but she can't search his bag. And
Yep.
she's trying to decide, do I alert the whole school and cause a big problem? Like, do I make this a problem? I already
Mhm.
know Colt is very sensitive and he overreacts. Do I
Mhm.
actually want to make this a big thing or not? Like, could it be
Does she
nothing?
know that though? He was only there 4 times. That was his 5th day. Does she know that?
No, I don't think she knows it 100%, but I think she's
Yeah.
getting the feeling of it. I'm watching her body language while she's talking to him.
Yeah.
And it's very, like, it switches up a little bit. Like that video of her talking to him and him
Mhm.
going back to his seat and then coming back and talking to her. That's the math teacher, right? Like, that's
Yeah.
the one.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And the
Greer.
fact that
Yeah.
I know she knows something's up in his vault, like, cause like he couldn't get back into the classroom.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
the reason she can't is because she locked the door, didn't she?
Well, the door's locked. The door's
Yeah.
as soon as the door's locked, and I guess automatically. Then I
Mhm.
guess to prevent something like this to happen. Yeah. So you can
Well,
only.
she ain't letting them in.
Yeah.
That's for sure. She didn't,
Yeah, and it was the girl student who saw him come back. He initially
back.
wanted to shoot up that
Mhm.
classroom, and she was going to go to let him in, and then she sees it, and then she alerts Miss Greer, Kathleen Greer,
Yeah, yep.
and that's when
The
she
teacher.
hits the alert button. She's like, boop, 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 pound,
Yeah.
tapping her. I guess 8 times. You got to hit
Thankfully
it.
they have them. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. It's tragic, but okay. So she does the 8 times, the alert button, and then Coach Aspinwall and I think Christine Irami, and then also Coach Phoenix, they all like step out because they heard a noise, and yet they didn't see the alert either on their phone or on their computer or wherever it is. So if they had seen that alert first, they would have been like, whoa, versus taking a step out into the hallway. So that's it, like one of those tragic moments of
Well, that's the argument between the silent alarms and the actual alarm. Like,
Yeah.
there's been a big discussion about that these alarm systems shouldn't be silent, like, amongst all the teachers, although it does give them the power to organize against the shooter and to get protection without the shooter knowing what's going on,
Mhm.
the violator knowing what's going on.
Right.
If it was actually alerted the L system, there would be no doubt everybody would know something's going on and
Mhm.
would heighten their awareness. It's those seconds, it's just seconds. We're only talking about seconds
Mhm.
between them walking outside and not seeing it on her phone. As they're hearing the noise, right,
Mhm.
at the door, like maybe Colt was making some exclamation because he couldn't get in and he saw the girl was not letting him in. And he's like, oh, damn, I can't get in now. And he's like making that kind of noise. And so they're coming out to investigate that. At the same time, she's pushing the button. They may
Mhm.
not have even had the alarm yet. Like,
Right.
because it's like right at the same moment, so to
Yeah.
speak,
Yeah.
with the commotion in the hallway.
Right. Yeah. No, I know it's whenever we watch these trials, I'm always like, just a second this way or that way, it would be
Mhm.
different. It would be different. And same thing in this trial, just a second, one way or the other. And you'd have a different
But
result.
in this
Yeah.
case, a lot of what happened did prevent further deaths. I mean,
Mhm.
it's absolutely horrible what everybody witnessed, but it could have been, I mean, let's be honest, it could have been so much worse. Like, it's
Oh.
hard to even imagine that it would be worse because they're all going through such a horrible tragedy. But
Mhm.
Yeah, it could. I mean, we've got shootings where there's 30 dead, 19 dead.
Yeah, even
And
just in the classroom alone, it's amazing that only two kids, actually one in that classroom, and then Mason was in
one
the hallway.
in the other one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing that the 9 I think got wounded in that classroom.
Mhm.
It actually amazes me that they survived. Yeah.
But look at what the kids were doing too. They were hiding under desks. They were pushing stuff out of the way. It's a
Mhm.
shame that they have to have that kind of training. And it's actually, this case has actually brought that the school is going to have to make even more training for them.
Mhm. Yeah,
Starting in kindergarten
I
on
know.
how to deal with these kind of situations and with gun safety.
Yep.
So that we're going to have 8-year-olds coming home from school saying, Dad, it's probably not a good idea. You don't have your gun locked up. Like, I could get to it. Like, and, and I think
Mhm.
it's a shame that we have to have our children get educated to go home to tell the parents you're not doing the right thing. Like,
I know. I know. It hurts my heart that these kids have to, metal detectors and go through training and, but if it saves their
We heard
life.
it the first time when my mom used to spank my brother like a little bit. Like back then it was a thing, but I remember the first time he came home from school, he says, "I just learned that you're not supposed to be doing that. Like, that's not right. You're violating my 3 feet personal space. And you might be my mom, but you're not allowed to do that
Right.
without good cause." And I was like, "Oh God." Like, you're just like, but yeah, my mom was just like, yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, she moved away from it real quick. Like, parents do what parents are taught.
Right.
So my mom came from a household where if you were bad, you got the switch.
Right.
In so if my brother did something bad, he got spanked. But that stopped pretty quick, especially when someone she comes home from school and says, "Teacher said that, like, you're violating my 3 feet of personal space, and that I have rights, and you're not allowed to touch me," like, because they're doing that, body
Mhm.
safety thing where you don't have stranger danger and all this other stuff. But
Right.
like
Right.
he's using it against my mom as soon as he gets home. But that's what could happen with gun control if they start teaching kids about what reasonable gun control is.
Mhm.
Like, parents are going to hear a lot more about it when they come
That's
home.
true. That's true.
Yeah.
Or kids calling the Department of Family Services or Child
Yeah.
Protection Services or all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then there's that. I had somebody who had a saying, "I brought you into this life. I can take you out of this life."
And you know what? My grandmother used to say that all the time
Yep.
to my full grown mom, by the way. Like, she was an adult at the time, she was still saying it. But yeah, like, I'm laughing about it now, but I guess like people that aren't familiar with that situation would think that's horrible.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know. Yeah. It depends on your perspective. Yeah. But yeah, Miss Bree, that was another thing. I mean, they were so close. They were literally Colton and Colt were in the same bathroom at the
And
same time.
sitting together, wasn't he sitting at the table at math with him?
Yes.
Was that
Yeah.
him?
Yeah. There
Like,
was
I'm
like,
so like,
yeah.
this is when the cosmos, like, you start wondering about how the universe threads together, right? Like, I can understand how some people get all into the woo of the world, I would say, like into the mystical end of it. Like, something like that makes me wonder what's going on. What stars aligned? And by the way, did Nostradamus have this in the book that C. Gray was going to do this, and they just threw a whole bunch of them in there to make
Right.
the possibilities? It's like, that was mind blowing to me. And also, like, good job of the school for continuing on. Like, that was a moment there too. That could have went either way.
Mhm.
If they didn't decide to continue, like,
Yeah.
that was the wrong kid,
Mhm.
that's not the actual one they're looking for.
Mhm.
Like, it could have went the other. It could have been worse, I
Yeah.
think.
They would have had the
Yeah.
one school resource officer instead of the second one came.
Mhm.
Yeah, then they wouldn't have been on alert. Like Dee Martin, the principal or assistant principal, she was on alert. Of course, the two resource
Mhm.
officers were on alert. You're right. Yeah, if they said, "Oh, okay, yeah," they then must have
Yeah, they
gotten.
could have closed it and walked away, and then
Yeah.
all the shooting would have happened, and they would have been shocked. Like, but they didn't really close it. They still were wondering,
Mhm.
no, he doesn't have anything. So there's got to be somebody else they're talking about. Like, let's figure this out. She
Mhm.
didn't let it go.
Right. Right. So, all right, that's all the questions that I have that I can see. Do you want to have any parting comments before I'm going to have Kuda Girl, I know you're watching, so be prepared to call in.
Yeah, no, I'm very interested to hear how her perception of what happened with the jury when they came in.
Okay.
I really want to. One question I want you to ask her is: Did the jury look right at Colin when they sat down? Did they look right over to the defense? I'm always curious about that. On whether they're confident in their decision. I think I would hedge a bit that this jury was very confident in their decision, and they weren't holding back as quick as they came back, and they'll be looking right at that defense as they sit down. But interesting to hear her side. But other than that, I'm glad this didn't take as long as they thought it was going to take, because it was so emotional. It was like a roller coaster, this trial.
Yeah.
I just hope whatever good can come out of it comes out of it. If anything, at least it got people talking.
Exactly.
Even the two of us bringing it up every week, about the gun control, making that conversation acceptable, because a lot of people still think they can't, because it's so divided that you can't have a reasonable conversation about it.
Agreed.
But,
I agree. Yeah, I hope something positive does come out of it. And you're right. If at the very least, people are talking. We're talking. My friends are talking. Our chat is talking. Your chat is talking. And we've met new people. We've met new people, and we've forged new alliances and friendships, and that is worth it for me. So
and hearing young people talk about it, I have like 14 and 15-year-olds in my life that are talking about it, and talking about what happens in their school, and like can they go to a counselor or whatever, and like that was astonishing to me. Because I had a 14-year-old come up and ask me like straight out, why didn't Colt go to the counselor if he was having such problems? You can go to your counselor, right? They'll get you help. And I was like, that is so encouraging that he knows that at 14. Like, I wish Colt knew that he would get help, not hindrance, so
absolutely.
It was eye-opening for me,
All right. Well, thank you for our second round of recaps here, second trial. And you're thinking Courtney Clenny. That's the next one you want to jump in on?
Hey, if you're into it, I would love to. I've been following it from the start. So I'm all for it. I love your chat. I love the questions they ask. And I love having, the way you think about things too. It's nice to get another perspective on things, It's my love of this whole part of it, this whole true crime community. I really, really have great respect for it here, because you guys don't do hype. You don't get onto the hook of things, and I have a lot of respect for that, because it's the same way kind of I want to do it. So if you'll have me, I'll definitely be here. Definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's going to be a short one. So that's going to be week 1, and then week 2, we'll probably have a verdict.
I'm thinking it's a roller coaster ride too, because you have to admit, she's got one heck of a defense team. They've tried everything.
Yeah. No, it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely looking forward to it. So awesome. All right. So that's going to be April 27th, theoretically, unless it gets kicked down the road. But
well, based on what you just did with the defense witness, like if they don't have their main defense witness, their expert witness that for the battery, for the women's battery issue in Florida, which we had with Sarah Boone, they don't have somebody to prove that. Like if they have to get another expert witness because she backs out because she doesn't, they lost the battle in court over that one, right? So if she backs out, they got to get another. We're not going to see a trial till next December. Like, come on, really? Defense will be crying about losing their witness, and
right. Yeah. So we'll see.
The judge seems fed up. Like the judge seems kind of fed up with the delays. Like you can see Cruz really wants to get this on the books.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting, and I'm definitely looking forward to having you ride shotgun with us.
I look forward to it too. Have a great day. I really want to hear what Kuda has to say. So I'll be in the chat. Thank you so much,
awesome.
Chris.
Okay, Claire. Take care.
Thank you.
All right. Bye. All right. Let's see here. All right, Kuda, we are ready for you. Kuda, we're ready for you. Call in whenever you want, whenever you have a chance, and we'll get you on speakerphone here. But thank you again, Claire. Always appreciate your point of view. And yes, we are having folks say thank you, thank you. Absolutely. All right. So if you guys are not familiar with Claire, definitely go check out her channel. I think it's Clairview 307, I believe. Yep, Clairview 307. Kuda, come on down. All right, here we go. Kuda. Hey there.
Hey, how are y'all?
We're doing good. How are you?
Doing good. I loved hearing Claire's point of view on it. And to answer her question about the jury, of course, everybody knows it didn't make it up there to see when the verdict was read, which was so disappointing for me and for y'all. I felt like I let you guys down.
No, don't. That's okay. That's quite okay. What you did was fantastic, and it's all right. So don't go down that road. Don't beat yourself up. It's all good. Don't worry about it.
Judging by, though, just how the jury was all week, I can't imagine that they were looking at him the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt like they were like, I don't know, but there's been a lot going on, and it's like Claire said, yes, Marcy is not in trouble over anything because one, of course, she did not have custody of him. Mm-hmm. And she did come to an agreement to get off of all the charges that may be held against her for testifying for the prosecution. And then I also found out that she too was going to the methadone clinic along with Colin.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And there's so much information I found out yesterday, but I can't say because I can't get this person in trouble because it is like,
yeah, don't.
Literally only 4 people know, which would make 5 me, and I, feel blessed just knowing it. But
yeah, don't put.
Yeah, but I do know that she was going to the same medicine wheel, which is the methadone clinic in Auburn, mm-hmm. that Colin was going to. Mm-hmm. And yeah, she did get off of the whole Zoloft thing because she did testify for the prosecution. Mm-hmm. And here in Barrow County and surrounding counties, it has been just fight after not physical fights, but like word fights after word fights. And it's just, I'm always on the Nextdoor app, constantly reading what they're saying. And again, it's mostly been men mm-hmm. who have been mainly against the verdict.
Okay. What are they saying? Like, what are some things they're saying?
It's all because I don't know if it's a guy thing with their, with the guns. I don't know, but it's all because they know that this was a historical trial for Georgia. Mm-hmm. We are now probably in the future going to have laws where we have to lock up our guns. And when people hear lock up, they think, oh, we're going to have to lock and key it down. And it just, no, it's like they're overthinking it, guys. No, put it in your nightstand.
Right.
Just keep it away from your kids, number one. That should just be common sense. Like Claire said, that's common sense. Keep it away from your kids. Mm-hmm. And they're getting all up in a roar about that. And I'm trying to look for one that was really, really good, and I can't happen to find it. But also, it made me think of something that I heard about a year and a half ago. And it's about another country called Switzerland. And I don't know if you guys know about the gun laws over there in Switzerland.
I do not.
U.S. is the number one country, that has the most gun ownership per capita.
Yeah, for sure.
But one of the few nations with a higher per capita rate of gun ownership than the U.S. is Switzerland. And they have virtually no gun crime. But everybody pretty much has a gun there. Do you know why? Because they teach the people how to properly own a gun and not to leave it loaded, not to leave it out, I see somebody who lives in Switzerland.
Yeah, play on crime. Yeah.
So they probably know, or maybe they can correct me if I'm wrong. They really teach them how to, the proper way to handle a gun. And I kind of think, maybe U.S. could take a cue from Switzerland on this.
Right.
But yeah, everybody here is just all up in a big roar about, this means Georgia's going to change. It's going to be harder to, we're going to have to lock our guns up in a safe. And no, that's not what it means, guys. It just means we should have been doing what we should have been doing to begin with, which is putting them up away from children.
Right.
I see a lot of people saying, well, we took our kids hunting when they were younger than 14, and that's true. A lot of people do take their kids hunting when they're 14 out here and younger, but those parents also teach their kids the value of gun safety. And a gun is not a toy.
Right.
You don't treat it like a BB gun or any other kind of toy gun. It's a real thing that could harm people. And when I heard that a second grader brought a gun to school this past week, I was just like, did we not learn anything from this trial? You would think Hall County, where the jurors live and came from, and they're right next door to us, so I know all this is affecting them as well. So it's still not reaching parents that they need to put their guns up. I hear so many times about kids accidentally shooting their friends because parents left their gun out and loaded at that. And I was talking to Richard in the chat about, I have a little pink gun that I won't touch because I don't know how to use it. I won't touch it. I don't feel comfortable touching it. So it just stays in there until my husband can take me to a gun range and show me how to use it. And I'm 41 years old. And the schools have, they do have metal detectors now. I did see a question on that. They do have metal detectors installed, which, to me, it should have been done beforehand, but hindsight 2020.
Right.
And one thing that gets me is, I know that felons aren't supposed to have guns, but I also think psych evaluations need to be done. Because if you think about it, all these kids that have done the mass shootings, they obviously get their guns from their parents. And even if it's not a school shooting, it's just a mass shooting.
Right.
Maybe if, they can have some kind of psych evaluation done, it might save some lives. I mean, I don't know. It's always going to be up for debate over that, but that's just.
Well,
the door.
You said a lot, so I want to which is fine. No. That's why you're here. That's why you're here, is to say a lot. I want to say that about, okay, so if you have a chainsaw, do you just let that be in your kid's top of their closet? Do you let the kid have access to a hatchet? What else is really, well, the hatchet, whatever, but like a chainsaw,
Keys to a car.
do you like, yeah, do you like,
That's another main thing, is keys to a car.
yeah, keys to a car? I mean, no, you put those things away. You protect those things,
Exactly. I
So,
remember my parents, they had custody of my niece and nephew, and as he was 10, they got him a machete for his birthday. And I was like, you got a 10-year-old machete. What are you thinking?
mm-hmm.
But again, they showed him, kept the machete up. It's not like he was allowed to have it in his room.
Mm-hmm.
They kept it put up, and when he would go out with my stepdad into the woods for their walks, he'd take it with him and tell him and show him how to use it properly. So,
mm-hmm.
it starts with the parents.
Yeah.
It all starts with the parents or grandparents.
Sure. Yeah. No, I agree.
And
I think that's what we saw in this case, that the parents failed miserably. Colin failed miserably. Miserably.
Yes, he did. And in the next door chats, I did see a lot of people try to blame Mamu. Is that how you say it, Mamu? They were trying to blame her because she purchased a box of ammo. And I was thinking, well, she did ask for Colin's opinion on that, but at the same time, devil's advocate, she knew Colt had some issues there. So maybe she should have skipped asking Colin if it was okay and just say, sorry, I don't feel comfortable purchasing ammo.
Right.
Especially if you're not going to a shooting range or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hunting was out of the question with the AR, in my opinion. I'm one of those that think an AR is not necessary for hunting. Some guys would argue with that, but that's them. They're entitled to their opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, a lot of women were saying, maybe grandmothers should be held accountable for buying ammo. And I'm like, well, here's the deal with that. And again, it all just comes down to Colin was the one that had custody. Colin was the one that bought the gun.
Right. Absolutely.
And
yep, absolutely.
He was the one that let Colt keep the gun in his room instead of doing what was responsible. I mean, even if with Colt having all the mental issues he did, the one thing he could have done was put the gun up away from him, not let him keep it in his room. Because I would have been scared if I was his sister or a sibling of Colt's. My fear would have been, is he gonna go Amityville on us in the middle of the night?
Yep. That's I can't believe that didn't, and maybe it did. I was going to say, I can't believe that didn't cross Colin's mind, but maybe it did. And that's why he was walking on eggshells and like placating, like whenever Colt would say, oh, can I get 150 rounds? Sure. I'll get that for you. Versus say, you know what, let's hold off on that. And let's, that'll be down the road, or maybe I'll just buy 20 rounds or whatever. And then we'll go shoot, that kind of stuff. So it did seem like he was placating him a lot, and just, and maybe he was doing that because he was genuinely afraid of his son,
Yeah, and it's so funny because I think my husband's starting to understand now the severity of this, because he was kind of like the men in the chat, like, I think this was it was too severe of a punishment, and I was like, do you not realize what this man has done, what he has caused? If he would have done one simple thing, 4 lives would still be here on Earth. And we wouldn't have so many victims that are living with trauma and PTSD and dealing with survivor's guilt. And it just, God, just thinking about it makes me want to cry. But right before I called in, he had said something about, you know, he's finally understanding about why this was so meaningful to everybody. And he said, you know, like, even I would have taught my kids the proper way to use a gun, and, you know, it's not a toy, and keep them put up away from them and everything. You know, even if a kid does know how to use a gun properly, and there's plenty of responsible kids that know how to use a gun, but the parents still won't let them keep it in their room.
Right. Yeah, I think 99.9% of the people out there are teaching safe, gun, teaching gun safety, showing their kids, how to do it right. And we're hearing about the Crumbleys, and we're hearing about the Grays, and those are like the bad. Those are those are the ones that get attention, rightfully so, because 4 people or 8 people are dead and countless people are injured. But I would like to think that the majority of people out there are being responsible. It's just unfortunate that we hear about this because it's so dramatic, it's so traumatic, and it gets us talking and debating, which I think is good, because it is an issue that has to be resolved one way or the other. Whether we resolve it.
And that's the bad thing, though. Nothing ever does get resolved. I mean, I'm glad now the parents are finally getting held accountable for it. But that's only one step in a long way of going. And like I said, there was no law on the books here in Georgia stating you had to lock up your guns. Just keep them out of the way of kids, pretty much. That's it. Just do what you want to. Just, you ain't got to lock them up, but...
Or at least keep the ammo away. I mean, that's I think the least you can do is, like, if you're going to have your kid have the gun in his room, which I agree. I don't agree with that. But, if you're at least going to do that, then keep the ammo separate and don't give them access until you go hunting or you go to a shooting range. Why does that kid need to have, or why does anybody in the house except the parents need to have access to that? There's no reason to have anybody under 18 to have access to that ammunition, unless you're going out hunting or a shooting range or something like that. So at least keep it separate. Especially when you're 13, 14, maybe when you're 16, 17, you're starting to get some more responsibility, especially if you've been doing it for 6, 7 years at that point. If you're teaching your kid how to hunt and shoot when they're 10, 11, by the time they're 16 or 17, they've got enough under their belt that they know how to handle that responsibly. But
not for, and you got to remember, he got this gun not at 14, he got it when he was 13.
Yeah.
And I mean, he probably kept it in his room since he was 13, because we saw in text messages, Mama was trying to get my gun out of my room, not your gun out of my room or anything like that. It was always mine. When Colt would be texting Colin. And Colin didn't have anything to say about him saying it was his gun. He didn't argue with that one bit. Of course it's your gun. But I don't understand why it takes something so tragic for a state like Georgia. Because, like, again, the other day, like I mentioned the race laws. We had no race laws on the books until that incident in Savannah happened with Ahmaud Arbery. And now with Appalachia, I'm pretty sure there will be a gun law being, having your guns locked up.
You think?
I think so. I think that will probably be in the talks now. I really do. Next go around, I think there'll be somebody that will introduce a gun law.
For sure.
At least put the little lock that comes with the gun.
Right.
And if you don't have one of those, it's not that expensive at a sports store.
Mm-hmm. Well, it seems like it comes. Seems like those locks come with the gun, right? It seems like they do.
When you buy them brand new, they do.
Yeah. So.
I know we got our guns, second hand, but it's not that much to buy a lock that goes in between the trigger, like the cops put on them when they're, you see them pulling a gun out of a car, and they put like a little zip tie around the trigger to make them safe. It doesn't cost that much at all. And
right.
I mean, look, that's being locked up. I mean, even that's locked up right there. And if you have an intruder, God forbid, it's quick to, just snap that thing off, I'm assuming, and get you going.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I'm still going to use my golf club. I'm still afraid, of guns. I don't really like them. I was telling Rich in the chat, I'm more comfortable with the revolver than, I guess, an automatic or whatever. But because revolvers, to me, they're a lot easier to use, but I don't even have one of those. There's reasons why I don't like them. I'll never like them. But again, it's not the gun that kills, it's the person holding the gun that kills. And I've always actually thought that, there just needs to be some kind of mental assessment done, especially if you've ever, like in states like Florida or California that have the Baker Act or the 5150 Act. And if you've had that done to you and you're trying to apply for a gun permit or buy a gun, if they see that, it should be flagged. And, that's the only way I know how it could, it's a slippery slope.
It is.
It really is.
Well, what's part of the background check? I've never purchased one. So did you purchase it, or did your husband buy your gun?
Well, my husband bought guns or bought a gun like that, but one of now I did purchase a gun. It was the 38 special, like years ago, back when I was in my 20s. It was just basically, are you a felon or not? That was the only requirement.
You could lie, but don't they check the system?
Even if you lie, they do a background check, and it comes back and it'll tell you no. And they'll give you a number. If you know you're not a felon, it'll give you a number that you can call and find out, hey, why am I, not allowed to buy a gun? But like I said, last time we talked, I was even telling you that a friend of mine, whose daughter was petrified to go to school after all this, she owns, I hate to say that she's like a gun toting person, but she does have a few guns of her own. But she's on board with this, parents need to be responsible. And, even she keeps hers locked up away from her 16-year-old daughter, away from her 10-year-old son. And when she feels they're ready, if they want to, she will properly teach them how to work one and show them that a gun's not a toy. You don't just pull them out for show or for play. You don't ever play with them without an adult. You don't play with them, period. But if you're underage, always make sure an adult's there. And I mean, this trial had her really, her feathers were really ruffled over it. And I think until the verdict came out, that he was guilty on all counts. But yeah, everybody that I talked to in person, they were ecstatic that he was found guilty across the board. Like, which surprised me. It kind of did surprise me that he was guilty on everything. It did, but it didn't. Because I would figure they would at least throw one count out or come back not guilty. I've never heard, I've just never seen 29 counts, unless you're Daryl Brooks, all guilty.
Right. Yeah, the only thing I would have seen was the second degree. So the first count, I could have seen them saying not guilty or hung. And then everything from there, I could see, I think the state definitely proved it for me. But then also, I thought the state did a really good job in their closing. And I know closings aren't evidence, but they summed everything up and they really tied it up in a nice, neat bow that could get you over to that, second degree. He had all these warning signs. He was in custody, he had custody of Colt. He didn't do anything. There were many opportunities he had to stop this, and he did not. So I think ultimately, I just hope that this opens people's eyes, gets them talking, and hopefully something positive will come out of it. And by that, I mean, the next shooter won't happen. We won't have, we're going to have another school shooting. I know that. I guarantee that. But,
and I hate to say it is inevitable. But if you see your kid having school shooters on their bedroom wall, dude, sit them down and talk to them. Like, why are you idolizing this kid?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would want to get to the bottom of. Like, why are you putting up his pictures? You should be putting up pictures of Green Day.
Right.
Or, whatever the kids are listening to. I sound so old. Whatever they're listening to these days.
You are. You're 41. You're way over. Don't trust anybody over 30.
There you go.
For those that remember that saying. But yeah. No, I know. It was the son of Green Day. That's what Colin was saying. It was the son. Yeah. Which is sad. That's sad to say that Billy's got a son,
I know, right? Because you can remember when Green Day was big in the 90s. I mean,
yep.
It's just crazy. But but you see if they're starting to go down the wrong path, I mean, any responsible parent that really cared about their kid is going to sit them down and, obviously you're having a disconnection with your child if that's who they're choosing to put on their wall.
Right. I agree. And he turned a blind eye, even though he says he didn't talk to him about it or he didn't know who that was. I know he saw that. I know he saw that shrine, if you will. And I certainly would have been, if you cared about your kid, you would have been like, oh, who's that? I don't recognize that person. Oh, and what are these articles that say 17 killed, 17 wounded in Parkland shooting? Wouldn't you be like, can we just talk about that? Is this a school project? Are you doing research on some,
are you doing okay?
Yeah. What's going on?
Are you having some kind of feelings? Are you being bullied? Just try to talk to your kids. And a lot of parents don't do that with their kids. They just let social media, which, I'm not getting down on any parents, but I do see this a lot. Social media is the new parent for kids.
Yeah.
And it's really sad. It's just, we grew up in an age where there was no internet, thankfully.
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
face to face socially. We would go and hang out with our friends instead of, through Facebook or whatever. Like I said, I don't know what they do nowadays. Just stupid little backwood things like right up and down the main street, and
Yep.
what teenagers are supposed to do, not idolize people you shouldn't be. And I'm big on not people bullying other people. I don't like that. I took up for people who were being bullied when I was in school, and if he was really being bullied, it would have come up a lot more than just the one time I heard when the Jackson County Sheriff's officers came to his house about the Discord school shooting incident, and or Colin was talking about, kids were bullying him, throwing milk cartons at him. I was like, I've never seen anybody throw a milk carton at anybody, but who's to say that didn't happen? But it's just, that was kind of absurd. Like, I just thought it was just a bit far-fetched for me. A milk carton, like, where was the teacher if a milk carton was thrown at a kid?
Yeah.
It was just him, just like reflecting everything. It's like it's like he wanted to close his eyes and make believe everything was good and on the up and up, and he was doing a job, and that's all you heard was, I was a single father raising 3 kids, working a full-time job. Well, I'm sorry. My mom was raising 3 kids, working a full-time job, and going to school.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, I'm sorry if I don't give you a cookie for it, but you're not the only one.
No. Yep. Yep. No, I know. And I'm thankful that when he was on the stand, he did walk that back by saying, I basically, no disrespect to single parents out there, especially female single parents, because they're by far the majority. But he's like, but then he did still play that card of like, I was so busy, I was trying to keep the house afloat. I was trying to pay bills, so, but he did at least acknowledge single parents, especially women. So again, I'm not going to give him, credit for that, or like you said, give him a cookie for that. But he could have not even addressed that when he was on the stand. He could have just completely gone down the path of like, oh, woe is me. I was the victim here, so.
Yeah, it's like it was just him, always about him, not about, if it was about Colt, it was how great of a son he was and how he did this, and like, he was so smart. Well, if you noticed all that, why didn't you notice the bad things that were coming?
Yeah.
Because they were brewing for 18 months. And if, I know we know now what was the outcome of it, but I think it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that something bad was going to happen. And his defense, their closing argument was, I'm sorry, it was crap. It was crap.
Yeah.
It was the same exact thing that Colin said the day before, the previous Friday when he testified. Same exact thing. It was just blame on, everybody else. It wasn't Colin, Marcy, it was grandmother, it was Jenny, and again, people on the next door app are still blaming her, which is still making me mad. I'm like, leave that poor girl alone. She is a child. Let her finally have a childhood.
Right.
She's finally away from that toxic family. Just let her be.
Yeah. Well, I think It seems to me a lot of people want to blame everybody but Colin, or they want to blame everybody plus Colin versus just putting the blame on Colin. So right or wrong, I think a lot of people are are putting, the school didn't do enough, Jenny didn't do enough, the bus driver didn't do enough, law enforcement didn't do enough, child protection services didn't do enough. So you can, yeah, sure, even the state by not having these lockup guns on the law. So everybody's comfortable pointing fingers, but I think at the end of the day, it always goes back to Colin. If Colin had been the responsible one and he had taken care of those weapons and had stood up to Colt and said, no, I'm not going to buy you 150 rounds of ammunition, or that gun does not stay in your room. It's going to be locked up. We wouldn't be having this discussion. So it's really easy to point the finger at all these other people. And you know what? Sure. The school could have done something different to stop this. Sure. The bus driver could have said, hey, what's in that bag? Sure. Law enforcement for the Discord, sure, they could have tried to get, but their hands are tied legally, so they can't do anything. Child protection services, could they have done more? Possibly, could Mamu done more? Could Marcy have done more? Could Jenny have done more? Sure. Yes, and yes. But it always goes back to Colin. Colin was the one that didn't do enough. And Colin, I think, rightfully is now facing the consequences of those actions.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Georgia. They're really, really making an example out of them. Because like I said, this is the first school shooting Georgia has had that was lethal. And even when the prosecution during their closing arguments, it's like she said, every time it got close to Colin or Colt getting help, Colin would move the family.
Yeah.
Like when DFACS would be called, when DFACS, got in their life, Colin would move them.
Right.
Down in Fitzgerald, when his grandfather called the police over the broken window, they moved him back up to Barrow County. It was always Colin moving the family around, whether getting evicted. And he even tried to play that down. Like when we found out he was evicted for being behind, $10,000 at one place, it was like, Jesus, man. Like, and then he wants to place a blame all on Marcy, but this was not the first time they were evicted. This was supposedly the second time they were evicted. Well, okay, so did you not learn after the first time you were evicted that maybe you shouldn't trust your wife with the finances?
Right.
Like, maybe you should kind of have some hand in that. Like,
yeah.
So, if you want to blame your wife to make you feel better, or blame whoever to make you feel better, go right ahead. But at the end of the day, like you said, he's the one that is responsible. He's the one that had custody. He's the one that failed Colt by taking away that gun and keeping it put up. And now he's the one that's going to have to pay for it.
Right. Widespread panic, that's an easy one because we've seen that happen many, many times. 3 people go rob a bank, 2 go in with weapons, 1's the driver. All 3 are responsible. Oh, and then if somebody gets shot and dies, then that ratchets it up because that's in the commission of a felony. So yeah.
We had a case like that in Georgia a couple of years ago. There was 3 guys that was robbing a Chinese lady. Her and her husband owned a Chinese restaurant. It was in a suburb of Atlanta. And I'm telling you, there's video of this online. She came out blazing, buddy, and they weren't expecting it. And they had guns themselves. So it was kind of like a firefight back and forth for a minute.
Wow.
But one of them was shot and killed by that woman. She got off because it was self-defense.
Of course, yeah.
But the other 2 were located, and they are now in prison because they were charged with murder.
Yep.
Because that guy would still be alive had they not decided to go rob this lady.
Right.
And I gotta give it to her, man. If you ever see that video of her, she comes out and her husband's kind of ducking and hiding, but she has no fear. She's like, "You're not gonna come in my house, no."
Mm-hmm.
And she's like standing there, they're firing at her, and she's just standing her ground, man.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But yeah, Colin is held culpable, and
Yep.
rightfully should be.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if anything comes on the legislation this go around, because we saw that Savannah law get struck down or by the state, so there's that. So I get it. I know who's I know the political breakdown of Georgia. I get it. I know what's going on there. So we'll see. We'll see if anything.
Georgia's fickly. They're weird, and I'm still waiting. I keep checking and checking to see if Colin has a sentence date, which as of yet he does not.
Right.
So that's going to be interesting to see. And with Colt, I'm wondering, he supposedly has a hearing, it says on the 18th of this month.
Mm-hmm.
And it does have me kind of wondering, yes, it would be smart to take a plea deal.
Mm-hmm.
But now that Colin had his, and everybody has seen what Colt kind of had to grow up with, his mom and his dad,
Mm-hmm.
will he try to plead insanity? I was wondering that myself when Claire was talking. I'm like,
Yeah.
I wonder if he will change his plea from not guilty to insanity.
Right.
Not guilty by insanity. So
I think that's going to. Well, he's being evaluated apparently, right? As far as I know.
Yeah, he's being evaluated.
So
in Athens, of all places.
Right. So if he comes back and they say, yeah, no, he's not schizophrenic, he may suffer from depression and anxiety, sure, but
generalized anxiety
what
disorder, yeah.
what 15-year-old doesn't go through anxiety and depression?
I know.
So, but that being said, yeah, he could change to NGRI, not guilty, reason of insanity, but then they're going to have to get another expert to then say, oh, sure, he's got schizophrenia. But if he doesn't have it, he doesn't have it. So.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Yeah, I want to cover, if not live, because we're doing Corey, but we'll do a rewatch of that hearing, because I'm sure they'll have that hearing, a Colt's hearing, and we'll definitely cover that. And then we're going to keep our eyes out for the sentencing. And if you hear about it, text me, and if we don't know about it already, because we're usually pretty good about that stuff. But text me if you find out.
If I don't hear about it and you do, definitely let me know, because, like I said, I didn't even know his trial was going on until the second week. So that's why I joined in the second half of it. And I don't know if I could go to Colt's hearing or not, but if I can, I will definitely be there. I don't know if it's going to be held at the courthouse or not. I would think it would be.
Okay.
But
right.
I don't know. I'll try to find out what I can.
And you said that's the 18th. That's a Wednesday.
Yep, that's the
18th. Okay.
Wednesday on the 18th, yes.
Yeah, it's a Wednesday, yeah. So like I said, we probably wouldn't cover that live because we have Corey, but we would do it either later, depending on how long it is. We'd probably do it a Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
We'd probably do a Saturday. So if we do, and if you go and you want to call in again, that'd be cool.
Oh yeah, definitely. Most definitely.
Awesome. All right. Anything else before I let you go?
I think that was it. I mean, like I said, I'm no legal eagle like Claire. That's why I was kind of glad she did the legal part of it, and I just kind of give my sense in what's going on around here, and people around here, this is the South. They love their guns, and they hear that they're going to have to start locking them up. They get pretty mad.
Yeah, I think
don't like it too much.
I think people take it as a front to their civil liberties, and you're taking
Yeah.
this away from me, you're taking that away from me, and what else are you going to take away from me? And maybe that's where you start the conversation of like, no, we're not going to take anything away from you. It just be aware of that this could happen. Just raise awareness. I think if anything, just raise awareness. Do you want to be that next parent that kid takes a gun and shoots up a school? Answer yes or no. I'm pretty sure you're going to answer no. So then if you don't want that to happen, then just take care of your gun. Even if you don't buy a lockbox, just put it in your room, and or just teach your kids some some safety. And if your kid is suffering mentally, then get them help. I mean, it's just nobody's taking anything away. Nobody wants to infringe upon your rights. That's not what this is about. I don't want my rights to be infringed. Trust me, I'm a big advocate for that too. So I'm just saying, just ask yourself a question. Do you want to be that parent whose kid shoots up a school because you didn't take care of your weapon? I mean, come on. It's pretty simple. But anyway.
And it really does go to show, how much you do love your kids. It doesn't take that long to set them down and talk to them about it at all.
Yeah.
It's not like it's an uncomfortable conversation like the birds and the bees. It's just you're teaching them about safety. Just like, when they turn 15 and they get their learners, who did they have to teach them how to drive?
Right.
You are.
Yep.
So, you're going to teach them to be a safe driver.
Yep.
Teach them how to be a safe human if you're going to own a gun.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that simple.
I learned how to mow the lawn when I was probably 6 or 7. We had a riding mower. I would sit on the tractor with my dad. Make sure you have boots on. Don't push a lawnmower with bare feet. Don't stick your hand underneath the lawnmower. If you're using a chainsaw, I used chainsaws when I was probably 13, 14. You respect those things. It's just the same concept. You don't. I think Mel, you said earlier, Mel Stiller said you don't give a toddler a sharp knife. I mean, people always talk about common sense, all this stuff, and it does kind of boil down to that. And I don't know why people treat one thing one way and another thing another way. To me, it's both are potentially dangerous. Both could potentially maim you and or kill you. Just I don't know, just treat it the same way. But people,
it's like running with scissors. Are you going to run with scissors?
Right. Oh yeah. Oh my God. I remember my dad. He taught me about that, and he even said, if you're carrying something sharp. And I think my mom too, like never just hold it up. Don't point. Like I always think about that. Like if you trip, you're going to, whatever that sharp thing is, it's the knife, scissors, whatever it is or a pen even, it's going to go that way. Or if you trip, just make sure it goes away from you. Don't go like this, because, you could seriously do damage to yourself. So yeah, those life lessons I remember, some odd years ago. It was, I was a kid just like 5 years ago. So, so anyway, running.
I get it.
Running with scissors. Yes, exactly.
But what's sad is, a lot of people. There are a lot of parents out there that doesn't have that common sense.
No, I know.
Which, it's.
Well, I think
they just do whatever.
The argument that I see is like you're taking my liberties away. You're taking this away from me. What else are you going to take? How dare you tell me what I'm supposed to do? That kind of stuff. And it's like, well, then
people don't like being told what to do.
Yeah. Then ask yourself a question. Like I said earlier, do you want to be the parent whose kid shoots up the next school? Do you want to be that parent? So, I mean, that's not an unreasonable question to ask. So, anyway.
No, it's really not. And I'm sure Colin wasn't thinking it would ever be him. Of course, that's what everybody says. It'll never happen to me. It never happens here. Well, of course not. Mm-hmm. Of course it never happens to you. I mean, what kind of person would you be if it did and it happens to you again? You didn't learn from the first time. And, just, I don't know. It just always kills me when people say it never happens here, or it's not going to happen to me. And it's like are you a mind reader, fortune teller?
Right.
You never know. I mean, you can't foretell your kid is thinking, unless like there's obvious signs like Colt, like I said earlier, Colt is not going to come out and say, I think I'm going to go do something at the school today with, my gun.
Right.
Of course, that was the one thing the defense was making me mad about. Like, Colt never came out and said, of course he's not going to come out and say that. Who would?
Right. No,
that's just.
Well, he did. He kind of did, but he didn't do it in so many words. The shrine was pretty telling. Him pointing the gun at the camera. I mean, that's pretty threatening. Whether or not that meant he was going to go shoot up a school, no. But that's glorifying. Something.
It is, and that just proves that Colin is guiltier more than ever. Like, just the defense, his own lawyers just proved, that his son was going to commit a big crime like this. It's just,
yeah.
I just think I didn't like his lawyers. His lawyers were like, and then somebody said they came out of retirement for this, and I was like, oh, that figures. That says it all right there. Maybe they should have stayed in retirement. I hate to say that about anybody, but and they had a hard enough time with what they were working with, so I can't really blame them. But
yeah,
they could have tried. I don't know. To me, they just didn't try that much. But like I said, I don't know what they had good to work with.
Right.
So, except placing blame on everybody, or try to place blame on everybody but the father.
Well,
we saw how that went.
Right. We'll see how the appeals go. If he goes for ineffectual counsel, or the judge was too prejudicial against him, or this or that. So an appeal is going to happen. So.
Oh yeah. I'm waiting to see what the reason's going to be behind that.
Yep. Yeah. So. All right. So cool. Well, thank you again for being our inside courtroom reporter and calling in. Really appreciate it. And I know our chat loves you, and you were getting lots of chants to when you were waiting in the wings. We had people chanting your name. So
I saw that. And I love the chat. I love them all. I love chatting with them when we're watching Corey, or if we're just watching a recap of something. I love the chat room. They're all great. I love them all.
Awesome.
All make valid points. I mean, and they're very knowledgeable, and they educate me with so much stuff. I love it. Like I said, I kind of wandered into another chat room, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's a war room.
Yeah.
It's a war room over there. I want to get back into, our chat room.
Yes.
It's great. It's just everybody, you've got a really great chat room. All of you guys, right now, y'all are great. I love you guys. I really do. And I loved being here to go and watch the trial firsthand and report it back to you. Mm-hmm. It's really been a really great experience for me. Hopefully there won't be nothing big again, but if there is, bet I'll be there.
Awesome. Well, I hate to say it, but I'm sure there will be another one that's within close range, if not right down the street like this one, but there'll probably be another one. So unfortunately, but that's how it works out. So anyway, thank you again. Really appreciate you. And we'll see you in chat for Corey on Monday.
For sure. Thank you guys. Thank you, everybody. I love y'all.
All right. Love you too. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. All right. Awesome. Thank you so much, Cuda Girl. Thank you so much, Claire. This was a great discussion, great debate. Really appreciate you guys in our chat. Even though we have a difference of opinions, I can see that, but I also like the fact that you guys respect each other's difference of opinions, because that's what this is all about. That's what we are. We're humans. We have different opinions. And the point is that we don't attack each other here. We try to be courteous. We try to respect each other. And if we can just keep that in mind, even though we have difference of opinions, maybe we can all learn and grow from each other, because that's what I'm looking forward to. I don't want to just be like, my way is the only way, no, my way worked for me, but I want to hear what works for you guys. So all that being said, thanks again for being with us. Thank you to our mods for keeping our space as kind and courteous and respectful as it is. And thank you to Erin for all that she does in the back end. And I guess I could, let's see, I got a little Super Ball over here for, she's not really doing much. She's pretty crashed out. So, all right, it's Friday, right? It is Friday. Long week for sure. We're not doing anything this weekend. As far as I know, I don't think there's anything on our schedule for this weekend. So it's going to be Corey. We're going to do Corey. We'll pick back up on Corey on Monday. So Colt he's had 2 pretrial hearings, and they were only like 10. I think one was like 10 minutes. The other one they were really short. They're like under half an hour together. So that's why we were going to show that today leading up into this, but we decided, it was too short. So if the 18th is streamed, which I'm sure it will, then maybe the Saturday after that, we can show all 3 together. So we can kind of start to, focus in on Colt. So anyway, with all that being said, thank you guys. Have a great one. Have a great weekend. Make sure you recenter yourself. You go out, do something fun, nice for yourself, for somebody else. Look up at the stars, walk along the beach, take a stroll in the grass, go have a snowball fight, whatever it is. Make sure you take care of yourself. All right, guys. Love you guys, and we'll see you on Monday.